Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much. And hello, everybody, and welcome to Red Pill Nation Hangout number 347. Yeah, 347. End of the year review. Apologies for the potential length of this particular show. It's there's a lot to cover, and there's not a lot to cover. What I'm going to do is I'm gonna start with the largest one, and I'm gonna go down through the list. And when I get tired of mentioning them, or I will go through some distinct personal highlights that occurred with some of these particular events. But I mean, you know, they tend to fall in a lot in. Again, I kind of did them in the order that they happened, and I just kind of added topics to them as they went along. And I was even adding stuff right up until the very end here. But, you know, for the sake of the show, I am going to start with the one that really went on the longest, and that was Get Woke. Okay, so the really big, long ones were corporations get woke, go broke. The Twitter files was a big one. Erie's predictions about, well, the absolute tanking of Hollywood in the entertainment industry in general. There was a lot going on when it came to Justin Trudeau. I mean, I had no idea how bad he was until I actually put down all the stuff that he did. And I still missed something because I forgot to mention his debacle in India, which we actually didn't cover on the show, but I'm going to add it anyway.
Was that when he was in India this year and couldn't leave for a few days?
Yeah, that one.
I believe I did mention it.
Yeah, you did, but we didn't have it as a topic.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
I mean, we kind of covered it, but we didn't cover it like super extensively.
It was not an official topic.
It wasn't an official topic yet. You did mention it, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Oh, come on! What now? My keyboard's not working.
It's conspiring against you.
Hold on a second here. Let me check something. Because it was working just a few. Yep. Oh, now it's working. Okay. Now it's working here. Is it going to work here? Oh. No, I don't want WPS Office. Thank you very much. Funny, I did all of this checking beforehand, and now everything is just kind of like, well, you know what? When we get to it, we get to it. Yep. But yeah, there was the Trudeau insanity. Then, of course, there was the Manosphere stuff. That took up a huge amount of space as well. And there are some other lesser stories, tech stuff. Oh, and there was a fairly large component about Twitter. To boot. Okay, I don't know why it's not working on chat. You know what? We'll just remember it. But anyway, so let's start out with the single biggest one of the bunch. And that is corporations get woke, go broke. Hold on a second. Man, my computer is just being really fussy tonight.
could still offer you mine.
All right, so yeah, that way people can go and listen to specific parts about it. All right, 928. Get woke, go broke. Just hold on a second. Yeah, I need the lights on. I can't see there's not enough light from my from my lamp to see the keyboard. Okay, so in the terms of get woke, go broke, and I mean this is a huge list, which I'm going to go down, and each one of these took significant hits this year, and some of them were just absolutely comical, but let's just get right into it here. Victoria's Secret, Hershey, Silicon Valley Bank, Facebook specifically with the layoffs, Bud Light, we will probably be covering that one, Jack Daniels, BuzzFeed, First Republic Bank, Vice News, The Anarchist, Target, Ben & Jerry's, Miss Universe, Feminist Frequency, Best Buy. I think you remember the Best Buy one. Instagram Threads. Yeah. Hold on a second here. Instagram Threads, Project Veritas. I don't know what's going on, why it won't register. I'll have to look at that at some other time. Project Veritas, NASCAR with the banning of white people in its program, UFC, Jezebel Magazine, Fruit Loops, Starbucks, CTV, CBC, Google, and IBM Red Hat. To give you an idea of how bad that is literally one company getting themselves into deep shit or going broke or getting caught in some stupid scandal every 2 weeks. Now, you don't think about how big they are until you actually line them all up and you look at them. And when you look at them, it's like, good God. I mean, this is not an accident. Like, this cannot, like, I'm betting that if we went through most of these, there is probably a BlackRock or Fleet Street or Vanguard connection with literally every single one of these companies. Some of these were like justified. Victoria's Secret, for instance. I mean, what the fuck were they thinking bringing back Megan Rapinoe? Silicon Valley Bank. Again, right, woke investing. Facebook, well, we knew that was coming because they had some trouble with Meta the year before. BuzzFeed, I was actually kind of glad when BuzzFeed went under, because BuzzFeed was one of those woke publications that just like literal, I mean, like some of the stuff, especially a few years ago, that BuzzFeed was doing was just atrocious. But they were actually better than Vice News that had to be bought out by George Soros. Then we have Target, and we all know what happened with Target with the gay toys, the hypocrisy of Ben and Jerry. Miss Universe, wow, that one is just tragic. You know, who would have ever thought that an event that suddenly decided to allow transgender women to participate in it would go broke, especially since it's been known as the event for the quote unquote most beautiful woman in the world, or at least the best looking pageant queen in the world. Yeah, who saw that coming? Feminist Frequency, this one was expected. I didn't think it was going to take as long as it did. but they did finally go under. Anita Sarkeesian had her 15 minutes and she's gone. I think Pearson remembers Best Buy. Just saying. I think you probably remember Best Buy.
I'm not going to forget that one. I will not forget that one.
We actually did a follow-up. I did send that information back to O'Keefe Media Group. That one was... I never got a response back. Project...
I couldn't see that you really would. It wasn't... It wasn't inside information. It's just what anybody could do on the outside.
Well, that's what they're looking for, though. They're looking for citizen journalists. And here's the thing about that one. I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to doing something like that again. Okay. And ironically enough, well, Instagram Threads was, again, that one, like, there was all that hype where everyone's going to leave Twitter and go over to Threads, and, like, Threads is basically dead. I was just on Threads about 15 minutes ago. There's not a lot of activity there. Project Veritas, now there's the least surprising one of the bunch.
Yeah.
Like you do that to James O'Keefe, and it's sort of like James O'Keefe was Project Veritas. NASCAR banning, like, imagine a Southern Stock Car Racing Association banning white people who probably make up the overwhelming majority of their fan base.
Hooked on phonics worked for me. That's all I got to say to that one.
I don't want to say Southerners are stupid, but even like, okay, yeah, I get it. Southerners, you're kind of embarrassed about the Klan. You're also kind of a little bit embarrassed that you were on the wrong side of slavery. Banning white people in a sport that is overwhelmingly participated in by white people and is overwhelmingly watched by white people, not a good look.
That's not smart. I mean, you're not catering. You have to cater to where the money is.
Yeah. So that one kind of stands out. UFC, I'm kind of willing to cut UFC a little bit of slack. They signed in with Bud Light after all the fallout with Dylan Mulvaney. All of the people who were responsible for all the debacle with Bud Light were gone by that point. So that one doesn't count. Fruit Loops was just despicable. Trying to Trojan horse stuff in there. Starbucks, again, you kind of saw that coming. Like, I'm sure if you go down, when you walk around downtown, maybe because, like, I mean, I still use Starbucks.
I'm pretty much going to be back to Starbucks Central as well too. They have a roastery. Apparently, it's like the place to go for Starbucks. I don't ever step in there, but
Hungrier than I thought.
Gotta love those nuts.
Yeah. Gotta lick those nice salty nuts while I'm doing the show, because here at the Red Pill Nation, we have no standards.
The only way it could be any better is if you're going to be trying to do that and you got a ball gag in your mouth or your egg somehow. Anyway, we'll leave that alone.
Okay, the next one, Jezebel Magazine. This one, what do I say about this one? Hateful, misandric, hypocritical. At one point, about 10 years ago, it was one of the 100 most viewed sites on the planet. And it just, I mean, if it had been just a 1 or 2 person show at Jezebel Magazine, they might have been able to make it work, but they didn't. Just like Vice News, just like BuzzFeed. They kept on a large staff and they just couldn't afford a large staff, and they weren't willing to downsize to fit, so they went broke. CTV and CBC engaged in layoffs, which is kind of, and they tried to blame Polyev for that, by the way.
Shocker.
Well, here's the thing. Didn't both of your companies receive a substantial amount of financial support from Justin Trudeau?
Even though they don't need it?
Well, obviously they did it. Yeah, because they both engaged in large scale layoffs. And of course there was Google, which is again no surprise. And last but not least is IBM Red Hat. That 10 Commandments was literally, in terms of outright racism, worse than Best Buy, worse than NASCAR, worse than what happened with, I believe, Hershey. It was the worst example of racism I have ever seen. And again, I'm not surprised that some employees grew a conscience and decided to go and tattle on him to James O'Keefe, who blew the story wide open. I'm going to throw in an additional honorable mention to the YouTube platform. I'm going to have to add that to my list. I'm going to go out on a prediction. I didn't add it in because I actually did put together about 25 predictions here this evening. I didn't notice about YouTube. I'm going to have to remember that. YouTube, and this is something that got pointed out by Louis Rosman, YouTube looks like a company that is more or less basically trying to go through its couch, trying to find spare change.
Okay, fair enough.
So that's the list. Now, the ones that kind of stand out for me. Well, obviously, the whole debacle around. Well, first I'm going to let you talk, and then I will comment. So, which one of those stand out for you?
Really, it's coming down to, and again, this is more of really the two things. Obviously, while still being Canadian, anything Trudeau does that just seems to be a natural gift for him. Fuck. We're gonna institute electric vehicles by 2035. Really? So we've got 12 years. No. Yeah, 12 years. The country has 12 years to overhaul its energy grid, the infrastructure. And who the fuck can afford a goddamn fucking Tesla? Who can afford a Tesla when the battery has to be replaced? Again, there was a gentleman that was driving from basically Winnipeg going down to Florida, and he had to make his first stop somewhere in Minnesota, I believe is where it would have been, and realized how inefficient, ineffective, and how limited the vehicle really is. And he just said, fuck it. And he ended up buying a truck, right? Then financed the truck, and I'm guessing pretty much paid for it right then and there. And off he went. That was it. End of story. Done. There's the turf war that Ottawa has been doing with Alberta. And again, I'm still living in this province, and if I haven't gotten my citizenship, and if Alberta basically suddenly says, you know what, screw this, I think we've had enough and we're done, I would certainly vote on that to have Alberta leave. I have not stopped in my attitude and opinion of the need for the province to separate. And again, my opinion is that this province is the linchpin for keeping everything together. And it's, I don't know what to say half the time at this point. They know what they're doing by poking the bear, but things are becoming more, progressively becoming more organized. And more people are seeing what's going on. And again, my opinion is that Ottawa, by letting in 1 million immigrants going forward plus every year, it's going to destroy the country. It's going to be a shell of its former self. So again, anything that Trudeau does is just amazing. Oh, and let's also not forget too the censorship of news coming into Canada, or I guess even for that matter, going outside of Canada. I had a brief chat with one of my coworkers, and he's Sikh, born here. I mean, he's got no emotional ties to Palestine or whatever it is that's in India. I think that's what the name is. I'm sure I'm close. And I had said to him, like, with what was going on with Ukraine, and my father's side is Ukrainian, Polish, whatever, depending upon what time period you go to. Again, I have no emotional investment in anything Ukrainian. I thought I did, but I realized a long enough time ago that I'm Canadian first and foremost. Although maybe that's now more, I'm an Albertan. Excuse me. I'm an Albertan first and then a Canadian a distant second. And because I did bring that up. And if there's any sort of news that's going on, Canada is starting to become a bit of a copy of the great firewall of China. News is being controlled by going out, or rather what's not coming in. And I'm hoping that, shall we say, the white hats that are doing all of this know what they're doing to wake people up. Where you and I, my friend, we're awake, but we don't have enough of. It's going to take a lot to motivate Canadians to get off their ass and do something. I mean, let's look at what happened with the trucker convoy. It took 2 years, and how many exceptions to the rule of people coming into the country that didn't need to get jabbed, but everybody else was still expected to do it. So it's going to take something big to make people move again. And I'm at this point in my life, I'm not that person I may become part of whatever that next movement may be, but I don't know. But the biggest thing for me was the get woke, go broke. So I'm going to comment on Bud Light and the forgiveness of Bud Light with UFC. And with the whole thing with UFC, Dana White, is that, and I get where he's coming from. I don't drink Bud Light. I've never had it before, and I don't honestly see myself ever drinking it. And I'm going to do my best to keep myself sober for next year. I did it for about 2 months. I was actually feeling better. Anyway, with Bud Light, and since Dana White is close to Trump, and one of the big problems that Rosie O'Donnell had with Trump was that he forgave Ms. Venezuela, I think it was, some South American beauty pageant winner. She went off the rails, and he basically said, look, if she cleans up her act, sure, she can still do her world tour thing and whatever else. And that's when O'Donnell lost it, and it became personal. Now, let's be honest, folks. Rosie O'Donnell has really never been that attractive of a female, regardless of her sexual orientation. Like, she's just not. She's not feminine. She may have the girl parts, but doesn't mean that she's a woman, shall we say. So I will commend Dana White for doing what he did. But like the biggest thing that it came down to for me was you list the list of, it's not just Hollywood, it's just the list of entertainment franchises, IPs, whatever, that have gone down the shitter. The MCU is pretty much dead. There was the debacle with Ahsoka and Star Wars, and I don't even know where to start with that one. The lore being that you're either born with having force sensitivity or you don't. Could it be injected into you? Possibly. Would it be effective? I don't know. But Filoni, and I take back every bit of praise that I had for the man, thinking that he could save the franchise when he's a fucking feminist. With a questionable spouse who seems to exhibit interest or desires or love of worshipping Satan to some degree or another. All allegedly, but people will show off on social media who they really are. But Ahsoka was blah. Everything about Thrawn was, sir, it failed. It failed because that's exactly what I planned it to do. You know, like there was nothing menacing about Thrawn. I was more threatened. I felt more of a threat with Thrawn in Rebels. And just because you've got the voice actor who is an actor did not translate into it did translate into a character, especially a villain, that you not necessarily could relate to, but there was no sense of fear.
Okay, sorry, Kristen. I mean, yeah, you're kind of
okay. Sorry,
talking about
okay. Anyway,
yeah,
So Little Mermaid, Doctor Who, anything.
Yeah, we're talking about corporations get woke, go broke. Yeah, I've got a Hollywood section. Trust me.
We got Hollywood.
I do have a Hollywood section.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. When it comes to most of the woke companies, I don't have any direct interaction with them. I might indirectly buy some of their products, but I'm staying away from all of that shit. Facebook, when was the last time I was on Facebook? Like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago? And I'm not missing it. I mean, I'm honestly, I'm not missing it at all. So there's nothing there for me to have any, nothing's grabbing my attention, I guess is about the best way to say it. But like, oh yeah, Sports Illustrated and getting the fatties and the trannies and the I don't know what the fuck I am's. And same as with Victoria's Secret. I mean, what drives Victoria's Secret? Men want to get horny with their wife or with their significant other female. You put in individuals that you have no interest in that don't relate. We saw what happened. So, but again, with Victoria's Secrets more specifically, I'll try to keep this brief. I mean, that was all about, it was a female-run company. So, of course, they're going to say every woman's a fucking 10 when they know they're not. But, fucking modern female mentality, I don't know what else to say it. So, that's all I'm going to say on this one.
Thank you.
Sorry about
Just
that.
as
man.
I was putting peanuts in my mouth.
More salty nuts in your mouth. Are you
Mm.
sucking on the salt? Is it just giving you that sense of satisfaction?
Mm. Mm, mm, mm.
Thank you. Oh, you. Send me.
Okay, so yeah, yeah. Me personally, well, I think Bud Light was the thing that just pushed it over the edge. That's the first thing that stands out for me. I mean, the way the media tried to do everything to try to minimize the impact of Get Woke Go Broke about Dylan Mulvaney. The fact that Bud Light was stupid enough to think that Dylan Mulvaney was going to be a marketable figure. And based upon the total number of contracts that he got, I don't think that was just a random situation. Captain Ahab's gonna miss shooting the fatties that were coming out of Victoria's Secret.
Not V. Well, yeah. Well, V will be missing any of them anyway.
Um,
Oh God. Oh,
there
whatever.
was there's a trend here. BuzzFeed, Vice News, Feminist Frequency, Project Veritas, and Jezebel Magazine were all idiot. Well, maybe I won't throw Project Veritas in there, but I mean, when O'Keefe got booted from Project Veritas, then it became ideologically driven. The number of ideologically driven companies that went down: Starbucks, IBM, Red Hat, Google, the Fruit Loops. Wow.
God. Well, it wasn't. Well, it wasn't just Fruit Loops. Apologies for stepping in here. It wasn't just Fruit Loops. It was the manifesto that I read off with the Kellogg's, with the Kellogg Foundation.
It was just, I mean, like, wow. I mean, they saw what happened to Bud Light, and what did they try to do? They went ahead and tried it anyway. Like,
Now, okay. Now, if I remember correctly, that one, the majority, the biggest shareholder was themselves.
yeah.
15.5%, and then it was the usual BlackRock, Vanguard, and/or State Street.
Mm-hmm. Fleet Street.
And then number two was at about 9%. So about a quarter of it. But what we're not looking at is we're not taking the time to look into who's on the board of directors and who.
I didn't have time to look.
Yeah, I know, because there's so many fucking companies corporations you'd have to do that with.
Mm-hmm. Feminist Frequency was, oddly enough, Miss Universe and Feminist Frequency and Jezebel Magazine were personally the most satisfying. For you? I'm amazed that Feminist Frequency lasted as long as they did. Vice News, I remember Vice News because we were still living in Banff when Vice News started. Vice News was fucking edgy and hip and cool and covered interesting topics, and look what fucking happened to them.
But that was also with Gavin Newsom, not Gavin Newsom, sorry, Gavin McInnes.
Gavin McInnes. Best Buy was really dumb. NASCAR has to fall under the category of stupidest. I mean, they take a solid second to Bud Light. As one of the stupidest decisions they ever made. Of all of these companies, I mean, I'm willing to give UFC the break because UFC was willing to give Bud Light its first break. Mm-hmm. Target had enough brains to back. And by the way, they were the only one that did.
Yeah, Sorry, I'm going to have to go back to. I'm just going to touch on Target here briefly as well too. Is that well, they got rid of Chrissy Teigen's line of utensils and or product line, but apparently they brought it back in quietly as well too. So, I mean, after their debacle here in Canada, I still love to bash. I still love to bash Target whenever possible, but I'll probably have to deal with them when I'm south of the border as well too.
Okay, there's some of these that work like Fruit Loops, sorry, Starbucks and Google. You kind of knew. IBM and Red Hat, specifically Red Hat. Again, right, the ones that were race based, NASCAR, IBM, Red Hat, Ben and Jerry's. Do these people, and I mean, I don't want to reduce it down to race, and I'm sure if V was here, he might be giving a bit of an argument, but I mean, do these people not realize that whites make up the vast majority, like the significant majority of the people in the United States? Especially NASCAR. That one was just...
Financial tools. I'm just going to look into IBM, actually. Institutional investors hold a majority of ownership of IBM of about 60% of the outstanding shares they control.
Yeah, Red Hat was the one that did the 10 Commandments.
There we go. Top IBM shareholders. Dun, 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 dun. Arvind Krishna, CEO of IBM, he has less than half. He has 0.053%.
Oh, wow.
Browdy, 0.02%. And she's Senior VP, Legal and Regulatory Affairs and General Counsel. James J. Kavanaugh, 0.017%. Senior VP and Chief Financial Officer of IBM since 2018. Oh, look at that. Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street coming in at 15.7, 13.9, and 10.3 respectively.
So we're talking about Target, right?
No, this was IBM.
Oh. You know, I don't know when those three companies are going to actually start facing some serious heat, but I hope they start feeling some serious heat soon, because it's like, you know, they got people on all of these boards and they keep seeing this happen over and over and over and over and over again, and they still allow these people to have seats on their board to advise them to make these really stupid. Like, I mean, there's so many of these companies that ultimately, like, based upon the pattern that I'm seeing here,
oh boy,
like,
here we go.
This has to be being done on fucking purpose. Like, they want these companies to go under. I mean, if you're consistently giving most of these companies bad advice.
Okay, so Target. Number one, Vanguard, 9.21%. SSGA Funds Management is at 7.55%. Capital Research is at 6.3%. BlackRock, 4.6%. And then the others I don't. Oh, Wells Fargo is at paltry 1.35%. Franklin, could be Franklin Templeton, I don't know. 1.29%. Massachusetts Financial Services is 2.0%. And that's a relatively blue state, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. It is. So, one other thing before I move on here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Miss Universe is almost as stupid as it takes an honorary. It takes a solid second place for how massively fucking stupid. I mean, it is a contest for women. You are seeing, and you saw, and you're going to see an increased amount of blowback against transgenders worldwide. And you go and allow transgenders to compete, and people start walking away. And it's like, again, sorry, what color is the sky of the planet you live on?
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we're pretty much done with this particular topic. the next one we're going to go into, and this is another one here. This is another example of get woke, go broke.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what is with this computer, but ever since I came up to this ever since I came here, like I'm getting a lot more glitches. Okay, section number 2. We're going to talk specifically in this one about Hollywood. This is the one where you can go off on your Ahsoka stuff and everything, although I didn't include the Ahsoka on this. But here are, and by the way, we can throw in Aquaman onto this list as well.
Yep.
We could throw Aquaman onto this list. Actually, maybe I will throw Aquaman onto this list to see if I can add it.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, see if I can add it here. But yeah, there was just Aquaman is not doing particularly well. We will actually be covering that before we get into predictions or guesses for next year. Okay, but yeah, let's talk about the stuff that went down in Hollywood this year. And there was quite a bit of it, actually. Here, let me roll off the movies, starting from the beginning. Okay, let's see. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Star Trek, Discovery, Little Mermaid, Indiana Jones, Elemental, Flash, The Snow White Fiasco, Blue Beetle, The Actors Strike, The Writers Strike, Robin Hood, the Canadian production.
I forgot about that fucking thing. Okay.
Nelson Peltz' hostile takeover of Disney, Captain Marvel 2, the Blade remake, which is also not looking particularly good, Hunger Games, Doctor Who, and last but not least, Aquaman. Oh my God. Okay.
Well, pardon me for stepping in here, but we could pretty much include at the beginning of it all the initial Nelson Peltz takeover.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I mean, Nelson Peltz made a move to try to take over Disney, and Disney, specifically Bob Iger, made a promise that they would back away from the woke content. And as soon as his back was turned, they went back to making the woke content. In fact, they doubled down on it. Ant-Man some of this stuff, because I know a little bit about the industry, most of these movies, the one that really stands out, and again, this wasn't Brie Larson's fault entirely, although she did do her level. Unfortunately, Brie's got to be Brie and had to say something to make it worse, and she did. But she was overshadowed by Rachel Zegler this year, who not only managed to kill one movie, well, she did kill one movie. She literally egoed her way so much around Snow White that people were refusing to go to the Hunger Games movie, which wasn't all that bad, by the way. I've seen it. But people were refusing to go to the Hunger Games movie just because of what Rachel Zegler was doing around Snow White. Now, it was... Yeah, keep in mind that if this is... I mean, Brie Larson was bad, or as you used to call her, Cheese Larson. Zegler is considerably worse than Brie Larson. And, I mean, how much more worse can you get than Rachel Zegler? That's the thing. But I'll just go through all of them. Ant-Man and the Wasp, again, like the superhero movies, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Blue Beetle, Aquaman, Captain Marvel, Flash, those movies, the superhero genre has just been maybe overplayed a little bit. Like I've seen, except for Aquaman, which I will be seeing when I get back into town. Um, I saw all those movies. They weren't bad, but they weren't particularly good either. The thing about all of those movies, though, is that, and I saw this with a lot of these movies, is that they really seem intent on ticking off the DEI boxes as opposed to, actually making the movie, which made it even worse because people saw what was going on. And again, right, Nelson Peltz, like, it's like when we get to the gay mafia thing. I mean, it's like Nelson Peltz was more or less told that they were going to back away from this, and as soon as his back was turned, he didn't. So now he's coming back, and now he's pissed, and he probably has a good reason to be. Little Mermaid was race swapping. Star Trek Discovery was just bad. It was always bad. It was PC right from the start. It was yay girl power. It was yay, let's preach a message. It was anything other than, to go where no man has gone before, or to go where no person has gone before. Never saw Elemental because it got slagged so much. I will probably get the DVD and watch it at some point. Indiana Jones was kind of, again, right? You get into that fucking girl power crap as opposed to just telling the movie. And of course, they also emasculated Indiana Jones, and they were trying to basically set up a female replacement for Indiana Jones, which didn't work because the movie tanked.
Oh, I've heard some things about Indy 5, what happened behind the scenes, more or less before and after, but I will wait until it's my turn.
Well, again, that's another one of those debacles that you could put at the feet of Kathleen Kennedy. Little Mermaid, straight up race swapping. Race swapping. Period. End of story. Snow White, same thing, although Snow White hasn't actually come out yet. Again, they race swapped, among other things. Blue Beetle, it wasn't a bad movie. And had it been released 3 years earlier, it probably would have done a whole lot better. It just got saddled with the with all the stuff. Elemental, again, didn't see it. Flash, well, Ezra Miller. Period. Ezra Miller. Right there. I mean, Ezra Miller did a decent job as the Flash, but it was still Ezra Miller. Yeah. Okay. Then the actor strike and the writer strike to boot. And then again, we saw this coming a few years ago. There was going to be a series of crippling strikes because the money is running out of Hollywood, and that's exactly what you're going to see. At some point, some of the TV productions just said, you know what, strike or no strike, we're coming back in a reduced form, but we're coming back. Right. So there's that. Then there's Robin Hood. Yeah, that's you can't hear me rolling my eyes up as I'm saying it. This is Robin Hood was just a classic case of just failing up. Blade remake, they're hitting the same issues with Blade that they're hitting with Snow White, except in this case, it's like all white people bad. That's my understanding. Hunger Games, well, Rachel Zegler. Enough said. Right there. Saw the movie, wasn't bad. Rachel Zegler kind of helped kill it. It just didn't go anywhere. And again, a lot of that falls on Rachel Zegler, but again, a lot of it also just falls on the fact that, I mean, it was like it's another goddamn sequel. Doctor Who. All right. when your lead actress quits because of the caliber of the show, what you don't do, especially given the fact that Doctor Who isn't even human, is bring back a gay male and make it about his sexuality. Yeah, no kidding. They may have to scrap Doctor Who and shift all that money over to a different franchise.
Now,
Because
I'm sorry to interrupt here, but we were talking about Jodie Whittaker when she quit.
yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
And again, I haven't seen anything for Aquaman yet, so I can't comment on it. Sales are doing really badly. And this is something apparently that they didn't just reduce the presence of Mira in Aquaman. They really cut down her appearances in Aquaman significantly.
And who plays Mira?
That would be Amber Heard.
Oh, Amber Turd?
Amber Heard. So even though Warner Brothers didn't want to admit that Amber Heard didn't do anything wrong, by reducing her role down to just exceedingly limited amounts, they're basically admitting, yeah, we think you did something wrong. That's really all I got to say about this. I'm going to go out on the record because with 2024, I'm going to say there's going to be, and I've already said that I'm going to have to add a couple topics to it, and I'm going to have to add what the YouTube thing for sure. I'm going to add there's probably going to be a bit of a soft bounce back for Hollywood next year. Not because, well, for a number of reasons. But one of them, and this was something that I sent you the message about that today. Mm-hmm. Oh God, I should remember this. The guy who plays Superman and the guy in The Witcher. Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill has gone on the record saying that he's going to honor the lore and the storylines for Warhammer 40K. So you're not going to see massively stupid. And besides, if they did that with Warhammer, the series Warhammer would be DOA of all the television and movie series. If they started wokeifying Warhammer, it would flop immediately because of the way the universe simply runs.
And also, too, I mean, that could also translate into a drop in sales.
Yeah, it's gonna be mostly because of the way the whole game, the whole world, the lore, the way the lore runs, and the way the universe runs. I mean, Warhammer 40K, the good guys are bad, and the bad guys are really bad.
So just take your pick of bad, and then there you go.
Well, I mean, there are good guys in Warhammer 40K, but I mean, the Empire is a pretty amoral goddamn place, to say the least. It's not.
It kind of reminds me, in a sense, of how cutthroat Dark Sun was as a D&D world.
Like worse than Dark Sun.
Oh no, absolutely it is. But what I'm saying though is that like Dark Sun, that was TSR going off in a bit of an environmental shift, but it was brutal, absolutely brutal. A metal deficient world. Magic, arcane magic taken the wrong way is environmentally devastating. And you probably didn't get into the novels.
No, I didn't.
I can almost see kind of a correlation between what Dark Sun was about at the end of the day, because they would have to, every year, Boris the Dragon would have to consume suck the life out of, however you want to think of it, of 10,000 people in each of the 7 city states every year to keep the. He was the lesser of the two evils, and he was still pretty. It was nasty. I'll have to find the proper platform to bring that comparison into what I think's happening, or has happened in real life. I'm not sure, but anyway. But anyway, to continue with Warhammer.
So yeah, but there's a number of reasons for it. So it's not going to be just one, but yeah, Henry Cavill has gone on the record as saying he's going to do everything he can to protect the lore of Warhammer, which is what he's going to have to do. He's obviously going to have to make it very clear to people watching Warhammer 40K content that it's not meant for kids. Sorry, it's just not meant for kids. It's not that type of. It's not Star Wars.
And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to say that's probably overly sexist, rather bigoted.
Well, I mean, you know, there's been some controversy in Games Workshop. Well, how come we don't have any female Space Marines? Well, they got the fucking Adeptus Sororitas. That's why.
Or do you have any Space Marines? Well, how many females do you? Oh, okay. Well, we can tie this question. We can tie that question into the overall female reaction in the U.S. of women might get drafted. A lot of feminists have lost their shit on that topic.
Well,
I mean, going to war.
Well, I mean, Warhammer is not politically correct.
No,
I mean, the Black Templars are the good guys, and they're a bunch of anti-human fanatics.
Zealots.
I mean,
so my preferred faction are the good guys, but even still, they're not that nice. Love it.
The Krieg Marines, the Kriegsmen, are very similar to the German army.
I was going to say, okay.
But I mean, you know, that's the way they were designed. They're essentially an army of clones. I mean, even the Salamanders, which are about as close in the Marines department of you can get to the good guys. I mean, their preferred weapons are flamers, right? And I don't mean flamers. I mean,
stop it! Just stop it! No, not me. Stop! Just
no.
Stop.
I mean, burn you alive with hot plasma weapon flamers. Yeah, I mean, the Salamanders will go out of their way to protect humans and other races if need be. But I mean, they are absolutely and utterly ruthless in battle. You know, and keep in mind of the 18 original factions in Warhammer of the Space Marines, and by the way, because they've also played the race card with Games Workshop. The Salamanders are black.
Oh.
Yeah, even if you went in as a white person, the gene seed turns your skin black. You know, just like I'm trying to remember which one is it. The Shadow Hunters under Chorus Corvax has the exact opposite effect. Your skin becomes pale white, and your eyes become jet black. So I mean, it's you know, the whole thing about race is specifically with the Space Marines, because the Space Marines are. And maybe we should be getting when we get into a topic about this, because I mean I could go on and on and on about Warhammer 40K. Yeah. If they try to get woke, they'll go broke. But let's specifically the one that I mean, although it's not the thing about Rachel Zegler. Need I say more? I mean, a woman who is an actor who's so narcissistic and so self-absorbed that she managed to kill 2 movies all by only acting in one. Like she became so unpopular and so unlikable that people didn't go see the Hunger Games, even though Snow White had nothing to do with the Hunger Games. And keep in mind, there was more going on with Snow White than just Rachel Zegler. But I mean, they knew what they had a pretty good, because Rachel Zegler also said some pretty stupid shot stuff about West Side Story, which was at the end of 2022.
But who remembers West Side Story?
Well, again, right, West Side Story was noted for for one really stupid move, and it was the decision on this was made by Steven Spielberg, and it's like, oh no, we won't have subtitles when the characters in the movie are speaking Spanish. And they wondered why and it's sort of like, sorry, you think that people are going to come out of that movie and go, gee, I need to learn Spanish. No, because I mean, I got last movie I saw, and it's the last movie I saw this year, is Godzilla -1. And they had subtitles, and I had no problem keeping up with the movie. In fact, I probably would have had a very hard time understanding the movie if it didn't have subtitles.
Because it was in what language?
Japanese.
I would probably be able to get some gists of what's going on, but
yeah. So, Snow White and Blade are remakes that look like they're not going to be going over. Nelson Peltz is definitely going to be kicking some ass over at Disney. That's the other reason why I have 2024 as being a bit of a soft bounce back for Disney, because they're just not. They not only can they not afford to eat another year like they did this year, they are going to have Nelson Peltz and members of the board making sure that they actually, make movies.
To be accountable.
As opposed to worrying about the message. And yeah, again, I haven't seen Aquaman. Doctor Who was just like, again, right? Arrogance beyond belief, right? Doctor Who is an alien. His sexuality doesn't matter, but they made it about his sexuality. And but the absolute worst one was not even a Hollywood production, was Robin Hood. Imagine making a racist anti-white TV show and then getting pissed off when whites don't go see it.
No. Say it ain't so, Naroki. Say it ain't so. My feelings are hurt.
Yeah, well, fuck your feelings.
Fine, fuck you too. Oh my god.
Okay, so I think we pretty much talked ourselves out of it. It was a bad year for Hollywood all the way around. They got exactly what they deserved. And yeah, I'm pretty much done unless you have anything else to comment on. We're going to move on to the next topic here.
Yeah, because I have a couple of things with Doctor Who, and I said this before, but Christopher Eccleston, he was the first Doctor that brought the whole thing back. At a Doctor Who or at some convention recently, he was asked, "Would you go back?" And he said, "Yeah, but you got to get rid of Russell T Davies, who apparently was a flaming faggot." So the whole reason why the Doctor Who is now suddenly just he's one of the boys because he likes the boys, would be because of him. So much like Kathleen Kennedy, Davies had to insert himself in some form or another into the character. Now, this goes against everything that happened between David Tennant's Doctor Who and Billy, what the fuck her name is? Billy English, I think is what she name, the actress name. where he managed to separate himself, and Tennant became human in some aspect, and he and Rose went off, and that was it. He could actually have a relationship with her. So this whole thing of that he now just wants to get his prostate massaged is really the best way as only a man can do with another man. Just like I'm sure Trudeau knows about all of that. Go for it. I mean, it's not like, as I said before, it's not like the BBC hadn't gone out of their way to hire non-straight white males for. I don't know which BBC it was. Maybe it was the one that has Doctor Who in it. I don't know. So discriminatory hiring practices, whatever. That's going to be a British issue. That's not mine. But after Matt Smith, I lost interest, and then again Jodie Whittaker came along, and that was it, and didn't care. So I'm done with Doctor Who. They need probably about another 10 to 15 years to let that franchise set. Hopefully society is going to go back to something more traditional, and they can try it again. And if they do, they need to make sure that they get the right people that know the franchise and know the audience that they're going for. Maybe. Something that I found out today listening to DVD Overlord is that they were supposed to bring back, Spielberg apparently had on the storyboards that Short Round was going to be back. You know, you cheat, Dr. Jones, the little Asian guy. I can't confirm this, but apparently the second season of Loki, when he's in the show, he steals it. Like he's just got, there's something about him that just works. I don't know what it is. Again, haven't watched it, don't know. I'm not going to see it. But they swapped him out for Fleabag, and that's where everything just went to fucking pot. And this was apparently, well, ultimately that's going to rely on, that weight is going to fall on guess whose shoulders? Kathleen Kennedy, because it's a brunette. Always it's a brunette that seems to fuck things up. Ray, well, 2 data points. It's not a trend, but it certainly is a likely indicator. With Peltz and Ron Perlmutter, that's the guy that used to run Marvel, and he got unceremoniously trounced again back in apparently 2019. And that's why it takes about 3 to 4 years to see the shit coming out that Marvel is putting out now. And that's why people don't want to fucking watch it anymore, because the message, you know. So but that's on Kevin Feige's shoulders, and he knows that his ass is in hot water as well too. So with Disney, I can't wait to see more crap come out. And the shareholders meeting, I think Peltz has got about 4 or 5 months to make his moves. So we'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, so we'll see. Anything that will help bring Disney down, I am fucking all for it. I really am. So I can't wait to find out. I can't wait to see that one work its way through the sewer system. What else in Hollywood? It was actually, I found the whole the writers' strike and the actors guild. Well, it was more the actors. The writers. There was the writers' strike, and then the actors weren't too far behind. Am I correct?
Yeah, it was the actors and the writers. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the writers, they had no direction. They had no leadership. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. And then you had that hag, the nanny, Fran Drescher. I forgot that she was the president the last time around. cracking the whip and keeping everybody and everything in line. But the writers wrote about half their staff out of existence and saying that it was a win. Like, again, you've got your blue checkmarked as diverse as possible minorities that do not account for more than what, 20% of the population at most, which is not enough to make their content viable. I mean, again, it's going to be your diehard fans that are going to, like myself for Star Wars, where I would go back if I could have. Again, when it was re-released way back when we were still in Banff, I went twice. First time was because I didn't see the first one because I was only about 4 or 5 when it was released. And then the second time was for me just to keep it all in balance. They don't know how to write. And there's typically no planning. And again, what has cost Disney in particular so much money are the reshoots. So Disney is the fucking Titanic, and people like Kathleen Kennedy are the icebergs that are in the water. You can see enough of the face or whatever on the top, but they are so far below the surface, it's not funny. I will make the comparison again of the movies that did actually fairly well. Mario Brothers, Barbie, didn't see it. Oppenheimer, didn't see it. Really big hits. Five Nights at Freddy's. Apparently it did quite well because it was doing what it was supposed to do, which was to keep to what the kids, the people that played the game, know the lore, know the content. They stayed true to that. And the same thing as well, too, with Netflix and Daredevil. They have to they scrapped 8 episodes out of 20, doing it all over again because Feige's ass is on the line. And I watched the first 2 seasons way back when. Really good, very well written. 3rd season I heard was it just started to go to shit. And then One Piece on Netflix has done phenomenally well because the Japanese author has his final say on what they're going to be doing. So the whole thing with Henry Cavill, and my comment to you was, with Warhammers, that's going to be the line in the sand for Cavill, and it's going to be the hill he's going to die on because of what fucking happened with The Witcher. It was not supposed to go in that direction, just like everything else that has not supposed to go in that direction. And it's doing very well for Netflix. So, and again, the only movie that I saw this year was The Sound of Freedom. That brought in $280 million on a $14 million budget. Disney would kill for that kind of thing. The only other movie that did that basically had about those numbers for production and profit that I can think of was the Deadpool movie, and that was about $30 million, and it brought in about 350 million, something like that. Can't remember. So the profit margin was just phenomenal. And that's what Hollywood's going to have to get back to. They have to look at what the competition has done. What did they do? But they're going to have to eat crow and swallow their pride and admit that they were wrong. Oh, and apparently there's going to be a Little Mermaid again. And this time she's going to actually be Caucasian with red hair. So we'll see. But Disney doesn't have any choice at this point because they know that they have to go back to what made the money, even though they don't want to do it. So that's their problem. That's not mine. So I'm done on that. Oh, and Star Wars still sucks. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh yeah, one thing I totally I don't know why I didn't mention Sound of Freedom. Yeah, that whole kickback on Sound of Freedom. Wow.
Oh, and then there was the likely problem of staff were interfering with people watching it in some theaters, probably because I'll be honest. I would be at least a bit surprised if some of them had if they weren't pedophiles, they probably would like to indulge in it.
Yeah, I totally forgot about Sound of Freedom. Wow.
So,
But then again, Sound of Freedom wasn't so much about how it went broke, go broke, get woke, go broke. It was the response from the media in support of human trafficking and pedophilia, which I don't think. Do I have that as an alt topic? Well, man, I will.
you'll have to
I
take
will.
because I can't.
I'll have to add it in. Yeah, we won't cover that because we still got a couple more topics to go here.
Mhm.
Some of the big ones. And the next section we're going to be talking about here is the Manosphere content. Now, let me just, and again, you don't think of the Manosphere as having a huge amount of stuff that would happen to it this year, but it did. And I will run down all of the stuff that happened that was connected to the Manosphere this year. By the way, A and U are tied together, just so you know. But Topic 1, FBI marks terms like Red Pill and MGTOW as extremists. Ashraf Hakimi has a last laugh. What that was is that he divorced his wife, but his wife couldn't get any money out of him because he gave all his money to his mother.
Oh, I remember that topic. Yep.
All right.
Smart
Yep.
guy.
Stephen Crowder divorce. Female firefighters in Banff National Park.
Oh, if only they could have burned down the town of Banff. If only.
All right. David's Bridal goes bankrupt. Lauren Southern. Oh, yeah. Lauren Southern. G. Hunter Avalon divorce and Crazy Ex. Hunter Avalon comes up twice. Next one was woke journalists cry about treatment of women on Fresh and Fit and whatever podcast. Andrew Tate was charged, and there was the YWCA campaign, and then there was the accidentally based Barbie movie. We might be going on about that one for a while. I will.
Last time I had any opinion on that one, I got my ass handed to me by a certain person that's no longer on here. Thank God.
Lifetime alimony ended in Florida. Marriage advice from Mia Khalifa. A bit of an overlap here from this frequency shuts down. Tennessee makes fraternity fraud a crime. Coordinated attack on Rollo Masi. Political right takes run at the Manosphere. No, Tim, I won't spend $200 on a first date.
Oh my God.
Jada Pinkett Smith book tanked.
Wow.
YouTuber Destiny getting divorced. We've been having a lot of fun with that one. And then, of course, the first one, this ties into the first one, DHS funds NGO, the McCainist, to develop software targeting the Manosphere. And then we've got the list of false accusations. Justin Roiland from Rick and Morty, Marilyn Manson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Russell Brand, Chuck Brower, and Matt Ariza. And the last one, and this was more of a Twitter spat, but it was just pathetic. Just Pearly Things made a claim that 22-year-old women are better looking than 35-year-old women, and post-wall women everywhere just spurred the fuck out.
Did they spurg out more than Cardi B can squirt?
I don't know. Now, and the DHS and the FBI. And I'm also going to throw in the stuff with Andrew Tate on this. It's becoming that somebody within the U.S. Department of Justice is intentionally going around and is so there's at least a person or a group of people inside the U.S. government that has made it there, and I'm going to have to guess they're probably women, feminist women, that are making it their priority to target the manosphere. They don't have overwhelming political support, but they obviously have enough weight to get agencies to start targeting the manosphere, even though, and again, I'm going to point some stuff out about the manosphere. There's a lot of unhinged fucking people in the manosphere, right? Like, I know because I've had some experience with them. There's people in the manosphere that I would prefer not to deal with, right? The mainstream, here's the thing, they have to start moving. The rumors that I'm specifically hearing in regards to government involvement is that there's a rumor that's been floating around for a few months now that the government has decided that it is going to go to war with either China or Russia around the year 2027. The overwhelming majority of men in the manosphere, especially post-wall MGTOW, are not going to go. At current growth rates, the manosphere is going to be somewhere around 3 to 5% of, let me think. Yeah, somewhere around, by 2027, it's going to be about 3 to 5% of the male population. And it is going to be specifically at least 4% of the breeding male population, which is one person in 25. Now, again, that doesn't sound like a lot, but you want to know what? Like, that's a large enough group that every single male in North America is going to be one step removed from a guy in the manosphere. That's effectively what it's going to mean. And the overwhelming, especially guys in MGTOW, are not going to sign up to fight. And if they try to draft these guys, the only way you're going to get these individuals to fight for you is if you basically draft them at the end of a gun and you basically march them off at the end of a gun to basic and then force them out onto the front lines at the end of a gun. Troops like that are not particularly loyal.
Ukraine?
I don't think it's going to be Ukraine. It might be Taiwan or something like that. That's my guess.
No,
Ukraine has run out of men.
And that's what I'm saying is that you have to look at what's happening in Ukraine right now, because they are actually at the point where they're drafting women now to fight.
Yeah. Well, when your average age of your average soldier, and by the way, they're fighting in basically what amounts to World War I conditions. When your average age of your soldier on the front line for the Ukrainians is 42 years old, yeah, you've lost the war. They've run out of people. And unfortunately, because the group that, for all intents and purposes, got this whole thing started with Russia was the Azov Battalion. So they literally have to fight to the end, because one of the things that the Russians are going to demand in the surrender terms is that the Azov Battalion basically gets turned over. But we're getting off topic here with that.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to add one in there as well too. If I was not just the Azov Battalion, but all people that are connected to the Azov Battalion, and that can lead into deep high level politics and within the Ukrainian military. So yep. That's big anyway.
So yeah, they have to slow down the growth of the Manosphere, because most of the guys in the Manosphere are not going to sign up to fight unless they're already in the armed forces. So they have to do something to blunt the growth. it's not going to work because, again, right now they're then they attack you, then you win, because the more attention they bring to the Manosphere, I mean, yeah, okay, they can maybe try to redirect some, which is what they're attempting to do. They're trying to redirect it to the blue pill Manosphere, the man bun masculinity coaches, which isn't going to work, by the way, because I mean, this is actually on my list of things that's going to happen next year is that you're going to see blue pill Manosphere coaches appear. It's going to get nasty because these guys are effectively feminist sellouts. And, red pill guys, dating coaches, MGTOWs are not going to cut these individuals any fucking slack. Right? So even if they have the backing of the government, even if they have people being fed into their system, it's not going to work because they're going to get raided. Right? And it's like the blue pill dating coaches are not going to be able to ignore what's going on with the red pill, because in the process of stepping in, there's going to be guys that are going to ask about the red pill and they're going to slander it, and then, of course, right, or lie about it, and then you guys are going to go over and check for themselves and go, yeah, you lied to me. End of story. You're also going to see, and this goes down to what applies with the Steven Crowder divorce and the false accusations. There is a fairly good bet that Justin Roiland, Marilyn Manson, maybe not Leo DiCaprio, Russell Brand, Trevor Bauer, and Matt Araiza have all gleaned information on how to deal with their situation from the Manosphere, or somebody who is Manosphere connected. Steven Crowder, and again, I'm not a big follower of Steven Crowder, but I know you are. He has definitely softened up his view of the Manosphere since, and by the way, his wife, when she was divorcing him, was basically following, and this is exactly the same thing that's happening with Destiny right now, following the playbook, right? The difference between Steven Crowder and Destiny is that Steven Crowder was smart enough to listen. As a result, Steven Crowder's ex-wife isn't running the playbook anymore because Steven Crowder knows what the score is because people told him. Destiny is in a catch-22 because he spent so much time slandering the Manosphere and lying about it and being a dishonest shit and being smug and superior and everything, and everything, that now that he's on the other end of it, and I can, again, this is going to be a topic for the show on Sunday. I fully expect there's probably going to be a hit piece written about Destiny early next year.
The other thing too, though, is that Crowder also has one of the best lawyers in America.
Yeah, but he's not a divorce attorney, though.
No, he may not be, but I'm pretty sure that he's got enough. He's got more than enough clout within the lawyers network that he could get someone to be right there for Crowder to begin with, anyway. And probably would be enough to tell Crowder's wife at the beginning of it was just shut up and keep to the fuck off. Keep to the stick to the facts, that sort of thing, to reduce the slander. Just speculating.
Yep. I love what Ashraf Hakimi did. In fact, I think more guys should be doing stuff like that.
That's the best thing. That is the best move you can do to anyone.
Well, she was going for his money, which is exactly what Melina is doing. Again, we're gonna be bringing up Destiny quite a bit in this one.
Mhm.
Yeah, poor old Destiny is just gonna get absolutely like it's like yeah, and this is something that guys Ashraf Hakimi had enough sense to protect his assets. Um, David's Bridal going bankrupt. That one was again right. The marriage rates are plummeting, and anybody who says that the Manosphere isn't having an impact on society, just look at the plummeting marriage rates and the fact that a major bridal company just went bankrupt. And then we get into, oh my God, Lauren Southern.
Skank.
The more I find out about her, the less I like her. Right? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, she literally made her name attacking feminists. You know, being anti-immigration and whatever. And there were some very early signs. You know how she almost got. I think she accidentally revealed Gavin McGinnis's location when they were doing that South Africa special, and hiring two woke camera crew to go along with her. Now, fortunately, they didn't
Those
reveal.
two guys. Yeah. I remember that now.
Yeah, fortunately, they had enough integrity to not do anything, but that was just. Then, of course, I mean, again, right? Okay, I didn't. There were photos of her dating non-white guys when she was living in the Lower Mainland, so it was not that big of a deal. So she married a guy, and again, it's not that much of a surprise. She married a non-white guy in Australia and had a kid with him. Okay, fine, no problem. Then she comes back and she keeps pretending like she's married, and she's had enough exposure to the manosphere, and she knows because she spent probably the first 3 or 4 years of her career being an anti-feminist, so she knows about parental alienation. So what does she do?
Parental
She
alienation.
engages in parental alienation. And then, of course, there was part of her attempt to do the coordinated attack on Rollo Tomasi.
Mm.
Right? Lauren, sorry, I'll just finish this and I'll let you say Lauren Southern's actions are so bad that any other female that comes in to the manosphere now has a much, and perhaps this might be a good thing, has a much higher hurdle to jump over to be accepted. Like I've noticed, for instance, that Just Pearly Things is not being given. I mean, she's got a wide viewership, but she's not being given anywhere near the same sort of slack that Lauren Southern was in Europe.
Um, correct me if I'm wrong, but was Destiny not part of the takedown, the attempted coordinated takedown of Rolo?
Yes, he was.
Fucking idiot. And
Well,
then
I mean, yeah, Rolo, sorry, I'll just throw this in. Rolo actually said, okay, somebody passed this information. I know a good divorce lawyer. And he actually posted this up on his Twitter feed. Except, of course, that Destiny blocked him. And Rolo probably just did that so that his conscience would be clear. But go ahead, Rearson.
well, and then what the hell was Brittany Fenty, I think her name was? That's kind of sticking in my head. I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
it is. Brittany Venti, yeah.
And I don't remember anything about that fucking bitch. So, I'm gonna add a sleeper female on the conservative side of Lauren Chen into this list because the woman discussed. Don't get me wrong. I would love to fuck her into the mattress. Find, fucking forget. Definitely do a pump and dump. Because she was. I would expect to be the brutal honesty being that men really can't understand women's issues and women don't understand men's issues. It's just the way that our brains are. That's how we are, by and large. Because she did a takedown of why men are checking out of dating. And this is a woman who's married a millionaire. She's got a kid. So this is a woman who's going to be preaching to the unwashed masses from a position of absolute safety. I don't know anything about the husband. Apparently he's beta-ish. But, I mean, I have no idea what her sexual order body count is going through university up here in Canada. And I don't really care either. But she's part of the problem. I was like, well, you guys are going to be really nice, and there's a great girl out there. I was like, well, would that be you? No. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah. Laura Chen is absolutely clueless when it comes to it. If Shuan Head's a little bit more aware, but Shuan Head is all like, I mean, both Laura Chen and Shuan Head have given thumbs up to women that have just had like completely dishonest attacks on the Manosphere. Mm-hmm. Shuan Head has blocked me on Twitter, by the way.
Oh, good job. Asked those difficult questions, did you?
Yes, I did. I specifically asked her why it is that she's supporting a hypocritical woman who just posted up these screenshots without any supporting, corroborating evidence to support him. And she just basically gave a thumbs up. And I didn't block because she wasn't the focus of the thing. I didn't notice that she was gone until I was checking for another issue here very recently and was like, oh, fuck, she blocked me. So
there are times that your natural ability to piss people off does come in, it works to your favor, and that's one of those times.
Well, I mean, she had it coming. She supported, and this happened this year, by the way. She gave praise to a woman who made a claim about the Manosphere that was just an outright, like, I mean, maybe it was true, but she was claiming that most men in the Manosphere are pedophiles, and she just basically had these two screenshots with no source to back it up.
Wow.
You know, yeah, kind of hard to respect somebody who does something like that. Well, Lauren Chin's a little bit smarter with that regard, but yeah, Lauren Chin has done some stuff around the Manosphere that just kind of like, are you even bothering to do research on this?
I don't see her being. I see her being the typical modern woman, just on the conservative side, for now.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, again, right, Lawrence Southern is just, and then of course we have the attack on Rollo Tomasi, which he participated in. Fortunately, Rollo Tomasi had enough brains to see it coming and had his I's dotted and his T's crossed. That didn't stop them from insinuating. Lauren, to her credit, Lauren backed off after that. But I mean, so other individuals tried to insinuate something, which of course fell apart, right? And the whole thing fell apart. This, in particular, when Brittany Venti tried to get Rollo's YouTube channel taken down by trying to send him naked shots of him, and basically, like Rollo went back to her and said, like, you live in Texas. If you sent me underage nudes of you, you just sent me child porn. You need to back the fuck off now. And Brittany Venti went dead silent. And there's been nothing done about it since. Right? There's a couple new, I looked at the video and there were people who were commenting on it where it was very clear that they had not even watched the video. And I called them on, and a couple of them doubled down and said, dude, I fucking saw the video. Man, you didn't. I know you didn't, because your comments are look like you didn't, right?
Out of context, yeah.
Yep. So, and then of course we have and the other individual, Cucker Krylone or Hunter Avalone.
God. Oh.
Okay, so he had a current wife who had an OnlyFans. So that's strike one. Probably had a disreputable past, that's strike two. But then behind his back, she would engaged. And of course, they both tried to deny this, but the evidence was there, right? She engaged in a gangbang with multiple black guys. Not that race would have mattered, but I mean, it's like, and of course, she was also quoted. She also got caught on another thread admitting, well, yes, if you have $10,000, I want to have sex with a camel. And it's like,
what?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So yeah.
So really, this man did truly marry a whore.
This man married a whore. Okay. Wait. It gets better.
No.
It gets well. I mean, what we talked about. This happened a couple of days after Destiny was getting divorced. Instead of taking the time to, because he's Hunter Avalon, he's got his head shoved up his ass. So instead of learning from the experience and being humble, and of course having everybody from the Manosphere come over and rub his fucking face in it, because once upon a time, Hunter Avalon was one of the big pro gamer gators.
Okay.
And for being a complete total sellout and a grifter and marrying a woman and then just like totally flipping over and defending feminism. Yeah, this is Hunter Avalon. So instead of taking the time to actually reflect, he goes out and gets another crazy woman who I think probably had borderline, and her ex puts tracking tags in her luggage, tracks her down to where they're living in West Virginia, which turned out to be 2 blocks away from where Tim Pool's studio is.
Oh my God.
And shoots through the door with buckshot. And of course, Hunter Avalon, the big bad Giga Chad, hides behind his girlfriend.
You can't make this up, folks. You can't make this up.
And of course, he's getting called out on it. And of course, he's doubling down on Twitter. And it's like, fuck, Hunter. You were fucking told a few months ago what happens when you pick the wrong fucking woman. And what do? You go out and you pick the wrong fucking woman again.
Hey, you're smart.
And you try to act so smug and smart and superior, and you get fucking arrogant. I mean, I see a lot of Hunter in me and Hunter. Sorry. And it's like, there's also a story that apparently he had a conversation with with his new girlfriend's ex, and of course, being the diplomat, Hunter, of course, insulted the guy, right? Oh my God. So, what can I say about that one? Going down this list, there were a couple of wins. The taking away of paternity fraud as a crime was a win for the Manosphere.
That is huge.
That one was, I'm surprised how many people didn't know about that one. For those of you who don't know, effectively, except in the entire West, except for the state of Tennessee, a woman can put any name on the birth certificate, and that man is then financially liable for that child. Tennessee is the only place in the West where that's illegal. And of course, Ron DeSantis taking away lifetime alimony, which is basically removing in a form of lifetime indentured servitude. two men in Florida, which is also a huge deal, which wasn't reported outside the Manosphere. Another one, because I'm gonna leave the Barbie movie till the very end. The YWCA campaign. Again, this is an example of feminists lying. And by the way, I saw a lot of that this year. There's a lot of the coordinated attack was a lie. Jada, oh God, I mean, we could be out Jada Pinkett Smith. Oh my God, like like it's so obvious when you look at Will Smith, and it's like, divorce the bitch, leave the bitch. Your kids are growing up. You have no reason to fucking stay with her. Fucking leave. But he won't. Right? And it just leaves everybody just like it just leaves everybody in the manosphere just gobsmacked. There's also and this is part of the reason why, while I think Trump will end up winning in 2024, it's not going to be a absolute slam dunk for Trump, is because the political right has frequently this year, in fact, I had to call out another person on the right just 2 or 3 days ago over this. The political right, specifically the Daily Wire, all did these coordinated hit pieces on the Manosphere all at the same time. And yeah, it was like, I mean, it's like, okay, in general, guys in the Manosphere are going to be right of center because the left is just completely and absolutely dismissive of men's issues. Therefore, they have no choice.
Destiny as a prime example.
Exactly. But when the right does stuff like this, right, it's like these guys are like going to go, well, I mean, why should I be voting for Trump when I could vote third party? So, I mean, it's like, if the right continues to, I mean, it might not affect this election, but I mean, by 2026, the Manosphere is going to be, there's going to be significantly larger numbers of men in the Manosphere, and it could, like, the Manosphere is getting to the point where the numbers of guys in the Manosphere are going to start affecting political races, right? So the political right doing this, not a good idea. It's, in particular, long term. The Tim Pool thing about $200 on a first date, we actually did a fairly extensive coverage on this. Like, it went longer than I thought it was going to.
Well, there's a woman that has been covered by Joker, Yana, whatever the fuck her name is, I can't remember. Some British or Australian.
Oh yeah, with the 300 body count. Yeah.
2,000. No, that's no, she's British. The Aussie that you're talking about, she's happy getting fucked, but she's always on the lookout for a guy that'll want to marry her. Ain't gonna happen, but that's another story. No, there's a woman, Yana something or other. I can't remember her name.
Yana Hawking.
Hawking, thank you. Yeah. I won't sleep with the guy unless he's spent $2,000 on me on dates. The fucking witch turns around and opens up her legs for this other guy, and then they had a great weekend, and they just kind of went, you're a great fuck, but that's all it's going to be. So she can't even keep herself consistent. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So Tim Pool can spend $200 on a date.
Don't do it, Tim. Don't do it.
But it's like, yeah, Tim, just because you can spend $200 on a date doesn't mean the rest of us can.
Or should.
You know, like that was just absolutely clueless on the part of Tim Pool. And oh yeah, we missed one. Marriage advice from Mia Khalifa.
Here's my advice. You see a woman like Mia Khalifa, and she's got the background or the overall promiscuity of Mia Khalifa, run. Don't even think about the three F's. Fine, fucking forget. Oh my god.
Okay, and then of course we also had the false accusations. There was a lot of them. The Russell Brand one was really interesting because the government actually intervened in this one without intervening. Like they suggested there was an investigation when there wasn't. I mean, what it basically did is it took Russell Brand just left YouTube and went over to Rumble. But I mean, that whole thing with Russell Brand was basically almost like a Trojan horse to go after Rumble.
Yeah, you're right about that. I will fully agree.
And the last two topics, the thing, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of pearly things, but the biggest thing that happened to her this year is she made a post, and this is basically true. Men find women between the ages of 18 to 24. That's the ideal age range. Mm-hmm. Sorry, it's fucking true. They generally look better. They're in better shape. They don't have the baggage. There's a number of things. Anyway, because of the way the women's society is currently set up, like there were scores of women just absolutely spurging out on Pearl over this. Like scores of them. Like they would be sending these photos and swearing at her, screaming at her. And they'd be get these cucked fucking husbands coming over and saying, my wife looks better at 50 than she ever did at 25. And it's sort of like there's one guy who fucking did it. So it's like I just actually what I did, I just put in cuck and I just repeated it until I ran out of space.
Copied and pasted repeatedly, did you?
Wow, you would have thought that she had summoned a demon from hell. And here's the thing, it's true.
She did.
And it's true. She said something that is true. And even though there were guys on there saying that it's true, you would also get these other guys going, oh, my wife is blah, 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 blah. Like, who gives a fucking shit about your goddamn wife, okay? Like, this is an in general statement. The fact that you find your wife more attractive at fucking 50, hey, that's fucking great, man. That doesn't change the facts. Now, fuck off.
I would turn around and just kind of say, okay, well, can we see a picture of her now? Can we see a picture of her 25 years ago? And I'll tell you which one I prefer.
One of the people who did this brought up a photo of Gal Gadot. Oh, this is Gal Gadot currently at age 36. So I found a picture of Gal Gadot at age 22 and posted it up. And I said, this is a photo of Gal Gadot at age 22. Noticeably better looking. Fuck off.
Well, I would be inclined to say to the guy who says, well, my wife at 50 is pretty on, well, okay, great. Maybe the two of you actually have the rare chemistry and you do look past it. Or you don't want to think about it because Lord knows you want to be banging that redhead. To quote George Carlin, you wouldn't really want to be fucking that redhead at the grocery store. God. Or, so if she was to find out that you would say that, yeah, my wife's hit the wall, how fast would things in the bedroom dry up? Yep. You could be honest. Anyway.
Okay, so yeah, here's the news flash for any ladies that are listening, which is not a very significant part of my audience, but here's a fucking piece of news. Yes, a 22-year-old is generally going to look better than a 35-year-old. Fucking deal with it. Okay? Like, it's getting to the point where the Manosphere is beyond You're whining, bitching, and vetching. Like, it's getting tiresome. Guys in the Manosphere are figuring this shit out. Okay? Like, just shut the fuck up. Okay? Your disapproval, specifically to me, for instance, your disapproval means fuck all to me. Right? And there's there's more men like me taking the fucking red pill every goddamn day. And you participated in, you bought into the fucking propaganda. You're participating in this. When you take something as plainly fucking obvious as what Pearl said, and you get fucking freaky about it because it fucking bursts your delusional bubble. It's not my fucking problem, and it's not her problem. But let's just get into the last particular topic about the Manosphere, and I wanted to save this one for the very last, the accidentally based Barbie movie. I saw it. I called you immediately after I got out of the theater. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go out on the record and say that this movie is probably going to win a couple of Oscars. I'm also going to go out on the record and say that the feminists are going to just absolutely spurg out, and they're going to write stories. They're going to write so many fucking stories about this movie, and some of them they got to do it to the point where the actual credibility of the movie is going to take a hit. Now, the Barbie movie was pretty good. It was also brutally fucking man-hating and misandric. Greta Gerwig wanted to mock. Here's the ironic part about this movie, though. Greta Gerwig wanted to mock the Manosphere so badly that she took multiple scenes from Fight Club, The Matrix, Saving Private Ryan, and she put so many of these scenes into her movie. And she made the character Ken, Ryan Gosling played. She made literally Ryan Gosling's character Ken is literally a tribute to Tyler Durden. Like an absolute fucking. And here's the ironic part about it. In the end, Barbie ends up taking the fucking red pill anyway. Right? That's the really fucking ironic part about it. She chooses to return to the real world. You cannot make this shit up. So it's like, I mean, and they used a very clever marketing ploy that's not going to work the next time around. And it was very obvious that, that she was hoping that the Manosphere was just going to absolutely lose it. Some guys in the Manosphere did lose their shit, unfortunately for her. When guys actually saw the movie, they were like, this is based. Yes, it's misandric. Yes, it's sexist. Yes, it hates men. But it's also based as fuck. She wanted to mock the Manosphere so fucking badly that she ended up paying tribute to it, which actually helped her with the sales, because guys from the Manosphere actually went to go see the movie because she made it so accidentally based. And she caught lightning in a bottle, and she won't be able to do it again. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
Rearson, finish off the Barbie movie, and then we got to move on to Justin Trudeau.
Okay, I don't have anything to say about the Barbie movie again because someone ripped me a new one. But if in the off chance they actually listened to this part of it, when I mentioned the whole thing about Oppenheimer, and it was not a big thing in Japan because America won the war, sure, yeah, no problem. I can use that logic to basically say, well, I guess everything was all fine in Cuba when Castro won his revolution and people like you left. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, Kelso, yeah, we're just finishing up the Manosphere part of 2023 in review. If you have anything to say on the Barbie movie, then let's hear it because we need to keep the show moving.
Okay, I don't have much to say about it, but I have something important to say about it. I saw it. I didn't, see it the same way you did. I kind of got the, I went down the Pirate Bay road of things to be able to watch that. But I came to the same exact conclusions you did. Either it's the biggest, it's either the biggest woke backfire ever or it's secretly brilliant, but in either case it's worth watching. So everything you've already said about it over and over again, I concur.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to go out on the record. This is where I finish this off, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. It's going to win a couple of Oscars. It's going to win a couple of Oscars because it's that good. Ryan Gosling definitely deserves an Oscar for his performance as Ken. Absolutely. And the last thing I'm going to say about the Manosphere section of the year in review is women, get the fuck over yourselves. What Pearl said was true. 22-year-olds do look better than 35-year-olds. Deal with it. Off to the next section. And this is the Justin Trudeau section of the show, because we had to break it down into sections here. Just in case you don't know, Kelso, this is in case you didn't hear it before, this is 2023, the year in review. No.
That's exactly why I jumped in. I don't know how long I'm actually going to be here for or not. This month has been very interesting for me physically, so I've been doing a lot of resting and recovering and taking it easy while simultaneously trying to get things done. So I guess we'll see how things go. But I figured, it's still the last one you're doing for 2023, so I may as well pop in.
All right. Well, I didn't know that Trudeau had done so much bad stuff until I actually wrote it down and put it in here. So here, let me just sum it all up here.
Oh, I know he's done so much. It's like you don't even bother to keep track because it's like, yeah, okay, it's gonna be a big pile. It's gonna be bad. The sky's blue. I don't need to, itemize it all.
Oh, here's the thing.
Yeah, it wasn't a surprise. No surprise for me.
By the way, I'm getting an echo from you. You might want to do something about that. Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, there's like literally people go, well, what did he do wrong? And it's sort of like, oh, okay, well, here you go. But here, let's just go over all of the idiocy he did this year. All of the Trudeau Foundation board resigns. He threatened Alberta and Saskatchewan premiers to nationalize resources and arrest them. There was Bill C-11. There was their potential tampering of the Alberta provincial election. He has twice suggested that making discussion about the Kamloops residential school illegal. He pulled that thing with Bill C-18, which makes it impossible for you to view Canadian content on Facebook. Then, of course, there's the divorce. There was also the clandestine fund to oppose anti-grooming parents. Again, native sites turning up empty, which is why he came up with this concept of questioning the Kamloops residential schools, using the sports minister to go around to major sporting events and to promote the concept of maleness as toxic. There was the trucker convoy trial of Tamara Lich, bringing a Nazi into the House of Commons. Yeah, he did that. going after podcasters, forcing Daniel Smith, and last but not least, basically forcing Daniel Smith to invoke notwithstanding on national energy policy. Like, a lot of what happened this year with Justin Trudeau has to do with the playoff between him and Alberta. And the reason why it's the playoff between him and Alberta is because Alberta is effectively, and I mean, I posted that, it's the Rearson saw it at the Canada game, right? Alberta is paying for a lot of what's going on in Canada right now, and it's not receiving just compensation for it in any form or fashion. In fact, if anything, like I said, threatening Alberta and Saskatchewan to nationalize, and arresting the premiers, likely tampering with the Alberta election, using Guilbeault to bring the notwithstanding energy policy in order to resist what Trudeau was attempting to do. I mean, there's just like so much back and forth, and it's sort of like Daniel Smith really doesn't have much choice at this point. She is probably going to have to form an Alberta provincial police force, because at this point, I wouldn't run it past. In fact, he has done it in the past. He's used the RCMP to harass his political opponents here in Alberta. And that is just the Alberta stuff. That does not include all of the stuff that he has done around the internet, which, by the way, is an attempt for him to control the narrative, because he's basically so far behind Pierre Poilievre at this point that, I mean, it's like he'll be lucky to get 70 seats in the next election. So basically, even if he holds on to 2025, his time in office is done. Like, it is done. Yeah, I agree. Most elections are fake, but yeah, that's something else. And then, of course, there's the one that really, of all of these, it wasn't, although keep in mind, I mean, I had aunts and uncles that were in the residential school program. The two that really pissed me off are setting up the clandestine fund to oppose anti-grooming parents, and using the sports minister to promote the concept of boys being boys as being fucking toxic. Now, there's like a lot of people would get, bringing a Nazi into the House of Commons was just stunningly stupid. They are also, and he also is also deliberately trying to make the trial of Tamara Lich, who was one of the organizers of the trucker convoy. They're trying to drag it out as much as humanly possible to basically break Tamara Lich economically. And as far as the residential schools are concerned, yes, they've done 3 excavations in Canada and have come up empty. And now all of a sudden he wants to make any questioning of the narrative around the Kamloops residential school illegal, probably because he was the one that was pushing this really hard when it happened, including stuff like Ban Canada Day. And of course, well, he also, I think Sophie Trudeau, there's rumors floating around about Trudeau's sexuality, and I really don't care, but I'm not overly surprised that he's getting divorced. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Dave, because the way it usually goes is that Rearson goes last. Dave? Dave Rearson. Okay, we can't wait for Dave.
Okay. Trudeau, the Canadian embarrassment on the international stage. God. If he isn't drunk at World Economic Forum, or I don't remember what the elite shindig was, but he had to sit down. He had to hold on to both sides of both arms of that chair, or he's. Do you like my socks? He's so. Oh, God. I don't know where to start with this guy anymore. I'm past the point of having. I really don't have any more fucks to give about this guy, because I learned my lesson after voting for him the first time round. Didn't completely get what the Chinese democracy, which is what he's turning Canada into, what that would actually be. Although I have noticed that he's mentioning Christmas by name only because it fits within his climate change bullshit agenda. Whereas before, it was always, Christmas is, for other people. It's not just for the Christians or whatever. So, there was the time that he was in India, and then the Indian government would not let him leave because apparently of some sort of banned substance on his plane. He apparently was late for a meeting. For a dinner, I believe, actually. Now, I don't know if it was cocaine that was the problem, that there was quite a bit of coke on there. But then again, as Rebel News has reported in the past, he is known to have, through taxpayer money, of course, somewhere in excess of $27,000 to $50,000 worth of booze on his trips. So, not a very responsible individual. But then again, he's a feminist, so I don't have much to say about him anyway, as it is. So, that's about all that I am going to say about him, Naroki, because I've got very, very little to say, period, anymore. I'm done with that fucker. So, done.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, sorry. He was like, had to leave. Yeah, I'm gonna, like I said, for the preview of 2024, I'm going to say this: like, Justin Trudeau is going to hang on right to the bitter end. Like, there's not going to be. He's not going to resign or anything like that. He's going to hang on until he's either forced out or he calls an election, which won't happen until 2025. And by then, it will, unless Poilievre does something really monumentally stupid, his goose is cooked, or he's going to make it in such a way that he's going to try and fix the election so he'll get reelected, which of course isn't going to happen. So, yeah. By the way, there is a section on Sound of Freedom. It's going to be in the next part, which is basically we got the Twitter files, and then we've got the random stuff. Yeah. Go to hell, Justin. Seriously, go to hell. I mean, I didn't like Stephen Harper, but I have even less. I can't believe I'm actually saying this. I would take Brian Mulroney back over you.
So what you're saying is you would vote for Harper, even though Harper gave away our rights to the communists. Okay, gotcha.
Well, I mean, it's like trying to pick between bad and worse.
Yeah, it's the lesser of the evils when at the end of the day they're all playing for the same people anyway.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it's going to be I really don't know how Trudeau is going to survive 2024 without external support. That's all I'm going to say about that. And we're just going to move on to the next section here. Kelso had to leave, by the way.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Not
so
not that I have a problem with you, Dave, but you know, I didn't think that you were going to stay. I didn't think he was going to stay. I really didn't. So that's cool.
all right, so the next section, this is, see, the topics are getting smaller and smaller now. And then the next section is just going to be all the random stuff. The Twitter files. Twitter files, the issues that happened this year, Tucker Carlson joins Twitter, the appointment of Linda Yaccarino, censorship inconsistencies, the Carlson Tate interview, the rebrand as X, the response of Instagram to put up threads to, well, try to challenge Twitter, the suing of the ADL and now Media Matters, and then, of course, Alex Jones's return to Twitter. It's very clear that, well, first of all, I mean, bringing Tucker Carlson on was a no-brainer. And like I said, I mean, his decision to go interview Tate and Alex Jones turned out to be the smart move because, I mean, at that point, we were saying that, well, we're going to find out what Tucker Carlson's colors are really like when he goes over to Twitter, and now we know, right? You know, my respect for Tucker Carlson has gone up considerably. Very, very clear that Linda Yaccarino was brought in not necessarily to make Twitter woke, but she was brought in to help when it came to getting advertisers and revenue is what she was brought in for. She's not complete. What?
That's who that was. I couldn't remember who. I didn't remember who that individual was that you brought up topic.
Yeah. Linda Yaccarino was the WEF member. It didn't make a lot of sense at that point, but there was speculation that maybe she was brought in for a very specific purpose, and she's being kept to that purpose. She's not. She's the CEO, but she's definitely not running the entire company. The censorship inconsistencies. Well, again, Elon is out for Elon. Period. Right. His rebrand as X is him attempting to rename it. You know, Elon still has to run a business. Okay, the sense that I mean, there was that whole case with Eliza Blue, for instance, that took a, and eventually he fired that woman that was running block for Eliza Blue. But I mean, he hasn't been completely unbiased in a censorship, and he didn't bring back Alex Jones until he was more or less voted into doing it. His rebranding as X to X was part of that strategy. Elon has a plan for Twitter, being more or less a lot more open to having a much more open platform with a lot freer discussion is part of it, but he's not out here to be a free speech liberator. That's what I'm pretty much convinced of. But he did upset the leftists enough that they asked Mark Zuckerberg to form Threads, which didn't go anywhere. Trust me, I was on Threads tonight. It's not active at all. And then, of course, there was besides Alex Jones's return, there was the fact that both the ADL and Media Matters have been caught lying about Twitter and are now both in the process of being sued. So thus far, and this is something that I found out about the ADL. The ADL is a shakedown organization. They make a bunch of claims and they go to companies and they say, well, give us this money, right? Or we'll label you as an anti-Semitic organization, right? It's a shakedown racket. Media Matters got caught because they've been running the same play for so long that not necessarily but somebody at Twitter set it up. So when Media Matters rigged that page and then sent it off to a bunch of advertisers, which caused a lot of advertisers to quote unquote spontaneously leave. Twitter, the people at Twitter were able to find that page, and they noticed that it only appeared once on this dummy account that was specifically rigged to bring it up. So both Media Matters and the ADL are in the process of fighting large, ugly lawsuits against Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is not a guy that you can just simply wear down because he'll run out of money. Elon's not going to run out of money. Period. So my personal opinion on Twitter is that Elon has a plan for Twitter. Part of that plan appears to be maybe a little bit more open to free speech, but I don't think he's a crusader. But I mean, yeah, if you start fucking with his advertising, he is eventually going to go after you. Period. End of story.
Disney.
Yeah, let's not even get it.
I don't think I don't think Elon is the free speech proponent he claims he is, but he's definitely made Twitter a lot better than it was. I mean, to compare how it is to where it was, there's obviously noticeable improvements. Speaking of noticeable improvements, is there any in my microphone? Are you still getting echo?
No, I'm not getting an echo anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
You have anything more to say about Twitter?
Just, a lot of people act like, and especially the right-wingers act like Twitter's like the end-all be-all, as if they don't censor at all or something. It's just like, they still censor a lot of people.
They absolutely
all
do,
of the time. It's just nowhere near as bad. Like, they still got algorithms, and if you do certain things against the algorithm, you're going to get punted, at least for a while. But I've noticed the algorithm is rigged, for lack of a better way of saying it, to more important things. Like, if you're talking about things like the World Economic Forum and what Klaus Schwab's got going on, or, certain things about, the truth of what's going on in Israel and stuff like that, you risk the wrath of the algorithm. But it's not like so far left that Stalin is stroking himself. It's not like if you mention black kittens somehow and you're a white person and then you're racist and now the hate mob's going to come after you and then the algorithm's going to hit you. It's not like a leftist cesspool anymore. But there is still definitely, it's looking for certain triggers, and if you hit certain things, you could get a slap. And it's also, the algorithm is by default suppressing certain things that are of the main global agenda and raising to the ranks in the trending things that are more mainstream. But even with the trending, yes, I've noticed that in general, the trending is, I will say, to a degree more organic than it was. Like, if you're talking about normie topics, you've got a decent chance of the algorithm being fair to you. But if you're talking about anything of any kind of importance, it's kind of business as usual.
Okay, Rearson.
Outside of government interference with Twitter, no doubt, probably providing coding for the algorithm to be in its current form, or at least when it was at its height of its censorship. As the saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. Twitter is important because that's a more freer speech platform than it wasn't. But again, not something that I actually I don't engage on Twitter at all. I've got better things to do with my time than to get into these fucking these cockfights. And I'm not talking roosters. I'm talking people swinging their dicks around, showing who's got the bigger one.
Hate to tell you, Wilson, those are all photoshopped. They lied.
nothing. I can't say nothing's going to surprise me anymore, but that list is growing shorter and shorter every time. What else was there? There was the oh yeah, Bob, go fuck yourself. Which is only adding to Disney's problems as well too. Because it wasn't so much being anti-Semitic, if I remember correctly, but more of it being about human trafficking. Disney didn't seem to like that, as well as Paramount and 8 or 9 other companies that pulled off their advertising. So, I don't, if that's the case, and I can't remember for sure, but if that is the case, I think that the public right now hasn't reached a critical mass yet for that to be effective, but we'll wait. These things take time, so we'll wait and see. Other than that, Twitter's not in my vocabulary. It's not on my phone. I do not engage. I've got better things to do with my time, and getting involved in circle jerk, vicious circle attacks from, not necessarily attacks, but very, very, very heated debates, shall we say. I have better things to do with my time than that. So, yeah, I'm done.
You know, Rearson, whether it comes to, whether we're talking about Twitter or Trudeau-esque things or what have you, ironically, I think Donald Trump actually said it best when he said,
Klaus Schwab didn't just penetrate all the cabinets, he busted his nut inside all of us. He pegged my wrinkled old ass. Trudeau licked his nuts. Jacinda Ardern deep-throated his cock. Xi Jinping took it like a little bitch. Zelensky dressed up like a schoolgirl. It was a total orgy.
how nice of Trump to be honest about the world stage for a change. Nah, to everybody listening, that was a deep fake that I made myself. There's even video that goes along with it, but I just thought it would be funny to rickroll for a second.
Oh, that was good. I like that. Yeah. Anyway, I got nothing more to say on Twitter. So, Rookie?
Okay, so, all right, the next section is the LGTBQ Mafia. This was a bit of it's a bit of a grab bag, but it all essentially revolves around either access to kids or people resisting and fighting back. Okay, this is one that strikes kind of close to home for Rearson. The city of Calgary running block for transgender story time. The Epstein blackmail of Bill Gates. This is where Sound of Freedom comes in. Players in NHL not wearing pride jerseys and the banning of pride tape. Matt Walsh's What is a Woman? Sports Illustrated transgender model. Transgender woman wins Miss Netherlands Universe. Leah Thomas banned from international competition. The million person march in Canada, and Saskatchewan passes a pronoun law and then declares notwithstanding. Well, again, this is something that I'm going to be bringing up for the next show. You're going to see a lot more government intervention in this particular area. And we saw a little bit taste of it because what was going on in Calgary is that unlike Edmonton, for whatever reason, the people in Calgary are a lot more confrontational when it comes to transgender story time. And apparently it got to the point where they couldn't deal with it anymore. So they got the mayor and the city council to run block for them. Now, it is still, I believe, still currently being contested in court. It's not going to hold up. But there was a similar thing that happened in Ontario, and the Ontario court held up the ruling. So you really have no idea how it's going to go. And Rearson, since this is close to home for you, I will let you comment on this one.
I'll be honest with you, I completely forgot about this. I mean, when I go to the library, there is a daycare in City Hall. It's outside. You can, of course, plexiglassed off, whatever. So children have some degree of safety. But if you take the pedophile triangle symbol and you round out the edges, it becomes a swirl. There are about 3 or 4 swirls on the glass to that daycare last I looked. So it's making me wonder, scratch my head and ask, could this be? Because there was also the issue earlier this year. What was last year? Sorry. This year, last year. I think it was this year. There was that boy that was molested by a Catholic high school principal, elementary school principal. And the parents went to the police, and all of a sudden the kids got taken away from the parents. And the allegation, at least on Telegram side of things anyway, is that City Hall, and if not City Hall, then the police department is playing cover for that principal. And it became a bit of an eye-opener. Now, I think that the kids are back with their parents finally. I'm not sure. And one influencer, I don't follow her stuff anymore, and we ended up actually being literal neighbors to each other. She had a strong interest in what was going on with all of that. I don't know anymore. I know that, well, then I believe that this is what you were talking about before, of likely election interference from Ottawa for Jody. This is her last name. No, this is her first name. I can't remember her fucking last name. But anyway, she's no different than the Edmonton mayor. They're both leftists, to say the least. So for them to run interference for people that don't want adults that have a very highly unnatural, as the vast majority of people would say, or would think and believe, they have a very unnatural interest in children. I mean, how many of them, I have to ask the question, how many of them have kiddie porn on their computers? But anyway. I can't wait to get out of this fucking city. I mean, not that I think that where I'm going to be going is going to be any better, but it's going to be at least a new start. We'll see. So I really don't have anything more to say on the transgenders, except that this really is, it's the pedophiles that are using the alphabet community to shoehorn what they want into society. Too bad Vinny's not here. So anyway, we'll leave that. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, well, the thing that stands out for me, I mean, we'll cover Sound of Freedom at the end, but I mean, all of these issues are men replacing women, and the fact that, I mean, this is literally an example of men taking away opportunities from women and feminism not answering the call. The ones that they're exception to that rule is Doug Moe. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to point this out about the Saskatchewan pronoun law. Like, the NDP in Saskatchewan fought Scott Moe. Well, it's not Scott Moe is not the NDP. He's the Saskatchewan Party, but the New Democrat Party in Saskatchewan fought like a demon to allow pedophiles access to fucking kids, is what it basically boiled down to. And I mean, it was like, if I wasn't already done with the New Democrat Party, that would have been the absolute. That would have been the absolute icing on the cake for me. The issue of the Pride jerseys and the Pride tape. I mean, I actually like some of the Pride jerseys. The only problem is that when certain players refused to wear the Pride jersey, you had basically cried bullies trying to get the NHL to kick these players out. Now, of course, you can count on the commissioner Gary Bettman of the NHL to do the wrong thing. And instead of quietly enforcing a policy, he goes out and publicly announces it, and he bans Pride tape. And of course, it all just backfires on him. And just very recently here, even though you're not allowed to wear Pride jerseys on the ice, the New Jersey Devils decided to sneak Pride jerseys in and had a bunch of their players wear Pride jerseys from the bus to the dressing room.
Well,
and it was like, and of course, you heard the usual.
That's not on the ice, so it's legal gray matter.
Yep. So yeah, the bottom line is that they did this. They determined to just, like, they're being told repeatedly, stop ramming it in our faces, and they keep doing it. And it's like, I mean, I've talked about this specifically with Sports Illustrated. I mean, they're creating this confusion on purpose. And I mean, it's not just some organic movement. This is being done to create gender confusion so that certain drug companies, namely the ones that run by Pritzker, will benefit out of sexual transitioning changes down the road. This is not an organic movement by any stretch of the imagination. Now, the Epstein blackmail of Bill Gates. Well, the woman that Bill Gates allegedly got involved with was actually of age anyway, so, he was more or less being blackmailed for cheating on his wife, whom he's now divorced from. So, I mean, that is over. The Million Person March that one was interesting because, I mean, again, you had multiple public sector unions like trying to rally support on the other side. And even with all of the press and all of these public sector unions, trying to rally counter protests, they were barely able to get half the support that the Million Person March was. You want to know what ended up killing the Million Person March? It was the war in Gaza that killed it. And the reason why is because there was a substantial Muslim population that was opposed to child grooming. Turns out Muslims don't want their kids groomed any more than North Americans do. And what they realized is the organizers of the Million Person March realized is that, it's like we can't have Muslims and Christians, the Muslims, Christians, and Jews all standing on one side protesting this, because all it's going to take is just one guy. And yeah, the government and the media would have done this. They would have intentionally sent out a guy with a pro-Hamas sign to just create an incident. So they had to cancel the second Million Person March. And last but not least, yes, there's I'll throw this. There is one other bonus topic, but I mean, last but not least, the reaction to Sound of Freedom and all of the support for pedophiles and protests about this movie. And it ended up doing well. I mean, if it had a larger budget, for instance, if it had a budget of $100 million, it would have been the highest grossing movie. Like, its return on its budget is higher than Barbie. The fact that so many people slandered and attacked this movie, I found to be incredibly disturbing, to say the least.
I completely forgot about this. Let's also not forget the fact that Disney was sitting on this for about 7 years.
Oh yeah, it's pre-Epstein Island. That's how far back it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one that I found out about just a few days ago, and I thought I would just throw it in as a bonus topic. James Gordon Meeks, the guy who was the Pizzagate debunker.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he got sentenced to pedophile charges this year and is now sitting in jail. And he was debunking pedophilia at Comet Ping Pong Pizza.
I have to ask the question, how many people like him that have been running interference are balls deep in it, shall we say?
Literally balls deep. No, I mean, I'm licking on salty nuts right now, although they're barbecue peanuts. So, I mean, who am I to point fingers? Kelso, you're up.
As long as it isn't your dick.
Yeah, it's it's definitely been a disturbing trend with the corporate solicitation of the child rape stuff, and the encouraging of the grooming and all that. Especially one thing that has particularly got me a bit annoyed lately when it comes to how easily corporations seem to support this is one of RPN's sponsors, the Memory Rock, actually in a recent thing has gotten a child rapist to do the advert for us, and unfortunately we're obligated to play this. So apologies in advance.
RPN has a great sponsor, the Memory Rock. I use it all the time. When I want to remember something, I just pick up the Memory Rock and bash my head with it. Then I can remember the rock thing, yeah, it works very well. I am proof of that. So order the rock memory thing right now.
I don't really know what they were thinking having, Joe Biden do that, but at the very least, I can say it's better that Orange Man Bad Hand Balm actually got Trump to finally agree to do the one for that.
The Red Pill Nation has a very important sponsor. You're going to love these guys. Orange Man Bad Hand Balm. You heard me correctly. If you love me or love to hate me, either way, this stuff is going to be a big addition to your daily routine. It's going to be huge. Believe me. Order now.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, the politics just can't seem to stay out of the corporate world because, like, the line separating government and corporations is effectively zero. So, your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I don't actually have any thoughts. I'm amazed that Joe Biden actually remembered to endorse me, although really regret having him do it now. Thank you, Trump, for finally noticing Orange Man Bad Hand Balm. To the individual on Twitter who got incredibly defensive because I suggested that he go use Orange Man Hand Balm because he just literally cannot stop tweeting about a guy who's not the president anymore nonstop. And this one guy who's he came after me viciously over the last couple of days. So what are you doing? You jerking off to Orange Man Bad? It's dude, just go over and look at my Twitter page. You see me talking about Trump there? No, you don't. But you see this guy tweeting about Trump all the time. I mean, he's doing so much. Who's the one who's tweeting about Trump? Is it me or him? Then, of course, these social justice wars, they never answer, right? So that's all I got to say about that. Rearson, let's take this topic out because we still got one more.
If it's okay, I just want to say one last thing. We usually talk about shall we say the RPN standards, and as if things went crazy already for 2023. In a recent video tweet about RPN, Taylor Swift had this to say.
What exactly the standards are on RPN. The answer is simple. The Red Pill Nation has no standards, none whatsoever, and it doesn't need any. Besides, if they had any standards, do you really think they'd have me, Taylor Swift, explaining this to you? Surely not.
Yeah, no standards here. So yeah, it's been a really crazy year. And yeah, once again, in all seriousness, I'm going to remind people those are deep fakes. That wasn't really Biden. That wasn't really Trump. That wasn't really Taylor Swift. We're just, a bunch of goofy bastards doing goofy things on here. So nobody take any of that seriously, because that was all as fake as Joe Biden's 2-foot long Photoshop penis.
Or an American $2 bill, as we like to say
Okay.
in Canada.
Okay, Rearson, take this section up because we still got one more to go.
Well, I actually don't really have much more to say on the whole thing outside of it being just one massive attempt, push, whatever, to depopulate however they can and to blur the lines as much as possible on the nuclear family, the nuclear traditional family, which won't put up with this shit. So the pushback for next year is going to start, but I believe that you're going to cover that anyway, so I don't have anything else to add to that.
Okay, so let's just get into the last section here, which is oh, for God's sakes, come on.
I put the 3 videos in the chat so that when you render the thing out, you can replace my crappy playback with better quality.
Okay, well, I actually already have your videos somewhere. I can't remember where they are exactly, but I already have them saved somewhere.
Oh, I figured, but I also figured you probably didn't remember exactly where they are exactly. I figured that was highly likely, so therefore I put them in the chat. So when you download them now, you can, have them where you know that they are.
All right. Thank you very much, Kel. So I appreciate that. So the last section, these are just the random topics. Some of them have sections to them, but they don't. But most of them don't. We will start out with the Pfizer gain of function leak, which is basically the story that got James O'Keefe removed from Project Veritas. Project Veritas found out less than a year later what get woke go broke means, and of course, Project Veritas buried this particular story. But I mean, Pfizer got caught doing gain of function research. The next one is what happened, stuff that happened in Europe. Continuous rioting in France, the farmers' strike, and they're taking over the Senate in the Netherlands. That was definitely something to be looked at. The British Online Safety Act, which is what Trudeau is basically attempting to pass here in Canada, using that. And of course, there was the riots in Ireland over the immigrant attack on those children, and how the Irish government is currently trying to use that in order to pass anti-hate speech laws. And of course, we also got the targeting of Rumble, Google burying the Republican debate. The fact that the Republicans were chose to have their debate on Rumble as opposed to YouTube says a lot about Rumble being mainstream. The Russell Brand Trojan horse, which would basically accuse Russell Brand of being a rapist, and then using that to platform to get his channel taken down in multiple places, and Rumble saying no, and then of course using that as a factor to try to get Rumble's commercial sponsors canceled. I should duly point out that I have not eaten at Burger King since Burger King chose to pull their ads from Rumble. And of course, there was also the DDoS attack. And then of course, we've got the random ones. My personal favorite topic of the year was the Native Park Rangers at Burning Man taking the Stop Oil protesters down with force. I love that one.
Mhm.
The leftists, of course, Josh Kruger and Pavel Lepere, facing consequences for being so willfully woke that they actually became victims of the very people they were advocating for. I like that one. I suspect we'll be doing a lot more about Israel Hamas next year. My personal take on it this year was that I don't have a dog in that fight. And because I don't have a dog in that fight, I'm not going to comment a lot about it. But it's very clear, based on some of the impact it's had on some of the other stories, that this is going to play out not particularly well. There's some stuff I've found out about, like about how the Palestinians are fudging the losses and basically including combatants in the quote unquote innocent civilians that have been killed. That's something I just found out about today, for instance. Then there's the Louis Rossmann and the Grey J app, and how YouTube, like what Grey J did is it allows you to follow content creators as opposed to platforms. The moment YouTube found out about it, they actually shut down Louis Rossmann's site. Rossmann came back, but anybody who I myself got a copyright strike, a community guideline strike for just simply naming Louis Rossmann and the Grey J app
Being
on
a
one of the videos.
being a hardcore computer geek, and as much as I like to research into this stuff, if you want somebody to deep dive on Great J, I'm your guy. That once that's ready to come out of beta, and I'll just say this real quick. Once it's ready to come out of beta and goes live to all the normies, it won't matter if YouTube were to be able to eliminate every mention of it from their entire platform. This thing's going to sell itself on the in-person level because it grants so many wish lists that people have had, whether or not you're the normiest of the normie, the most awakened truther, or you're a Zoomer, or you're grandma, or you're anything in between. There are so many pet peeves that people have had with just, I'm not even going to go into the pet peeves. We all know what they are. And this thing just solves them all in the most brilliant of ways. This is not going to be a hard sell. It's going to be like, walk up to somebody. Oh, hey, look what I got. Oh my God, how are you doing that? I want it. Oh, here. Yeah, it's gonna sell that easy, word of mouth.
Absolutely. And I want to move this up a little bit. Google and what's the name of the other company? Apple, or is it Apple? I can't remember the name of the other company, but they have effectively lost their ability to monopolize the apps on the phones because Epic Games won a lawsuit against them. So the Grey J app is going to come to the phones, whether the people want them there or not. The other two topics are, of course, you had the fact that Adam Johnson got killed a professional hockey player, Adam Johnson, got killed on the ice when somebody lost control of his skate, and his skate basically sliced his jugular. Unfortunately, the guy who killed him, Nathan Pettigrew, also happened to be a black guy, so it ended up being a racially charged event, even though, of course, this is not, I mean, I almost sliced somebody's jugular open once when I was a kid, when I inadvertently skated over the guy's neck. I mean, like, yeah, you literally have blades on your feet, right? There's rules against that. And the last one, and I think this one is going to be fairly important down the road, maybe, but after they had the ARC conference in London earlier this year, that's when you started seeing more coordinated efforts in regards to lawsuits and alt press and alt media going after the globalists. And that was just the first conference, which was just basically more or less a gab session, an information exchange thing, as in no coordinating a policy. This one, the ARC conference, has the potential to really level the playing field, because now it's not just the globalists that are going to be working in a coordinated manner. It's going to potentially be our side as well. So the topics that really
hopefully that's the case, because I've seen truth movement infighting increasingly on the rise, so much so that I recently made a song parody about it. I don't know if you happen to notice that. It's a parody of Somebody to Love by Jefferson Starship, formerly Jefferson Airplane, and my little parody is Somebody to Hate instead of Somebody to Love, and it kind of mocks the whole infighting thing. So it would be really nice to see some positive coming together with some real, productive, practical application, rather than, truthers in comment section waving their cocks at each other going, well, I 99.999% agreed with you, and until you didn't name the Jew, or you said viruses was or wasn't real, or you this, or you that. Now you're just a shill, and fuck you, and like all the back and forth. And it's just like, God damn, people. And of course, I could mention, the Chris Sky's attitude towards Max Ian being unfounded, and like the list is a million miles long as far as truthers treating each other this way. And it's like, okay, guys, like, we literally have a common enemy, like psychopaths who want to kill all of us, literally, not figuratively, and your fucking priority is a dick measuring contest with each other. So I'm really hoping that this thing you're talking about bears some fruit. It would be a really great change from the fucking norm.
Amen. So yeah, I'm also going to go on the record. There was some targeting of Rumble last year. I'm going to say, and put one of the speculative actions I think is going to happen next year is that Rumble and X are going to be reception of basically blistering, nasty online attacks, and also attacks in the press, because they are definitely going to. They have to get control of the entire media if they even have a sniff of a chance of somebody other than Donald Trump winning in 2024. So there was a lot of targeting of Rumble this year, but there's going to be some really nasty targeting of Rumble next year. And I think Israel Hamas, we're probably going to end up having to do some more coverage of that. Again, I don't have a dog in that fight, so I haven't been covering all that much. But then again, I should have probably maybe given it a little bit more coverage, just like I should have given Ukraine a little bit more coverage. The big.
Well, if you want at some point, I could talk about that, because as you know, I'm outside of the dichotomy. I don't need a dog in the fight. I can just look at the whole thing and say, all right, here's what I'm observing. And I've looked at quite a bit of it. So, I can do that.
Okay, well, if you could sum it up in a few minutes, go ahead.
Okay, well, here's the basic thing, all right? Netanyahu, when it comes to, the Israelis in his area of things, Netanyahu has, I think at this point, got a lower approval rating than Trudeau, which is kind of saying something. He was on his way out. And you also got to take into consideration that if you look back at the history, and this is surface level, mainstream's covered it in the past, people can look it up, Israel not only paid for Hamas, funded Hamas, but in that way has controlled and still controls Hamas. And of course, their little 9/11 equivalent where, all of a sudden, one of the best security forces in the world just withdraws their people from that wall for no reason. And, look what happened there. A little bit of a rat being smelled there, eh? So anyway, all of this whole thing was concocted for several reasons. Number one, Netanyahu wants to stay in power, and here's his reason. We got to do all this now. I can't leave. You can't kick me out. I can remain dictator. That's point number one. Point number two is that the shall we say the Jewish supremacist cult. No, I'm not saying all Jews are bad. I'm just saying that little faction of part of the ruling class that is nasty. The in group, not the out group Jews. The in group. They've been wanting to take over Gaza for a long time. They've been wanting to just kill everybody and bomb it into the Stone Age. And now here's their opportunity, and they've been very open about it, even in public. They're like, "Oh, the Palestinians are human animals. There's no such thing as a Palestinian civilian." Da 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 da. So, this is just a major grab happening. There's a few simultaneous agendas at work. Obviously, this falls into the WEF Klaus Schwab agenda. This falls into the men with small hats cult supremacy agenda. There's a lot of different agendas that it ticks off all the boxes. Plus, distract the world, get them fighting. You got to pick pro-Israel or pro-Palestine, and then you got to fight with each other. It's like there's a lot of things going on. It's full spectrum. It's not just any one thing or any just single another thing. So there's just a lot of reasons why this is happening, and it's not anti-Jewish, it's not anti-Muslim, it's not religious. It's purely political maneuvering. People at the top of certain positions seeing this as an opportunity to they hope solidify their positions. And one of the major backfires is that even though, a lot of people, especially a lot of American conservatives, are still drinking the Kool-Aid when it comes to the mainstream view of this whole thing, there's still also been a lot of people who this has been waking them up to the larger world stage of things and the corruption in all the countries. And in all these so-called pro-Hamas protests, which none of them have been that, back in the 90s, you might have expected people to say, death to America, death to Israel, whatever. But now what you hear them saying is, we want peace. Ceasefire now. We're done with war. And even in the United Nations, there was a vote, and unanimously it won. This ceasefire needs to happen. All this needs to stop. But unfortunately, the United States has veto power over every other single country that does anything in the UN. So the United States was like, well, nah, yeah, you outvoted us, but, the United Nations isn't a democracy, so we're just going to do what we're going to do. And, of course, there's a lot of money from the United States government that goes to Israel. And I'm not singling them out, that they send money to a lot of other countries too. I don't think any of these other countries should be on the taxpayers' dole. I think we should withdraw our money from all these countries. We've got our own problems. The economy is bad enough here. We need our money to go to us here, not to Ukraine, not to Israel, not to anywhere else. We need to clean up our own backyard before we think about anybody else's backyard. So it is a shit show. And, the media is trying to get the divide and conquer going between people, so they're distracted and not really seeing the real power grabs that are being attempted here. But the Streisand effect, as always, and there always is one, is that more and more of the normies are not only waking up, but they're like, hey, we want peace. We don't want war. We're done with this war bullshit. We see your war crap as just this big money-making machines. Well, you guys at the top get richer and the rest of us get increasingly more fucked. No. We're done with your bullshit. And that's why the ruling class is freaked out, because everything they're doing, whether it's the Israel stuff, whether it's, attacking Grey Jay or Rumble or, all this stuff you could talk about, more and more people are waking up to the fact that, like, hey, there's all these ultra-rich assholes at the top that want to keep making money, consolidating power, making money, increasingly at the expense of everyone else, and they don't care if they wreck all of the economies of all the countries and leave all of us to die in a ditch, because, hey, it's like Klaus Schwab said, you'll own nothing and be happy, right? So, yeah, it's all about those lovely sustainability goals, or sustainable development goals, which are nothing to do with sustainability or development. It's just consolidation of power and everybody getting fucked. And more people are getting wise to it. The Streisand effect is growing by the day. And, so all these people who are waking up just need to go through their 5 stages of paradigmal grief and, go through their integration and healing so they can, move beyond their narcissism and stop infighting with each other to really be able to galvanize with each other and go, hey, we need to come together against this common enemy. Because we totally can. We've got the numbers now. That's the thing. The so-called truthers have had the numbers for a while, but there's just been all this, infighting and all that. But, it's like the American Declaration of Independence admitted a long time ago, the people will suffer any evils until they're no longer sufferable. Well, guess what? All that infighting is only going to continue until these people start really seeing like, hey, wait a minute, this is really starting to become no longer sufferable. We're done. We have to come together. Even though I think the earth is this and they think it's flat or round or blah, or virus is this or blah, 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 they're going to be forced to put it aside and come together once the evils are no longer sufferable. We're moving in that direction. It's annoying and great all at the same time, but I definitely don't have a hopeless attitude about this. There's going to be a lot of crap over 2024, but we're going to see a lot of good stuff too. And at some point, when you want me to talk in detail about Grey Jay, Grey Jay is going to be an even bigger game changer than even most people who know about Grey Jay even realize. Because just like I put the paradigmal and political puzzles together and connect the dots, I do the same with technology, and I know what technologies affect others, etc. So I can see the massive ripple effect Grey Jay is going to have, and I can explain in geeky detail. Well, not so geeky that no one but me is going to understand it, but in geeky detail as to exactly why. And it's really great to see. When I first looked into Grey Jay and saw all what they're doing and went on their GitHub and looked into everything, I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, we are having a preview of 2024, but we're doing it on December 31st because that's a Sunday. The rise of nationalists, that's also something that I'm going to be talking about on 348. You're going to probably, Netherlands basically elected a national government after more or less basically trying to get all the farmers there to knuckle under and move into 15-minute cities, which really didn't work. The thing in Ireland, I'm absolutely stunned about the cluelessness of the prime minister there. I'm thinking that may have, in fact, that, that's just absolutely deplorable. I don't know. Kelso, are you going to be able to make it for the 31st?
I will try, especially if I'm going to get to rant about Grey Jay.
Yeah, because the Grey Jay app and the Epic Games lawsuit, which basically ends Google and I can't remember the name of the other company that have the monopoly on apps for phones. That's what it effectively is. That sets up the pieces for other apps to come on. And I'm telling you, as soon as I'm able to get Grey Jay, I'm going to get it.
Yeah, this is potentially bigger than most people even realize. Even the people like you that have enough wherewithal to know and to look at that and to be able to see, oh yeah, YouTube and all these other platforms are so fucked, they're in so much trouble. Look at what Grey Jay's going to do. It's bigger than that. That's just the tip of the iceberg, because I can see the ripple effect. Because when you introduce a disruptive technology and you know a thing or two about disruptive technologies, you can look at it and go, oh, that domino is going to hit these 2 other dominoes that are then going to hit these other 4 dominoes that are then going to hit these 8 other dominoes. Holy crap. I can see the detail of the dominoes falling and the ripple effects. And now, I'm not, making any predictions, but I'm saying the strong potentials within this momentum. Nobody could do anything about free will, and there are definitely things I could be wrong about. I admit that, but just the way the potentials and the momentum and seeing what can potentially affect what, and like, you'll all understand what I'm on about, once I explain that in detail, because I'm not going to explain it in so geeky a level that you're looking at me like, Dave, English please. No, not that level of geeky, but just enough of the details so that you could see the pattern and the flow of the ripples, and you're going to be like, wow, they are like 100 times more fucked than I thought they were.
Oh yeah, well, Gray J
This is
is
gonna be
definitely
big.
Gray J is up for discussion on
Yeah.
Sunday.
And
Right now,
I will say this is going to be more than just cell phone stuff. This is going to change so many aspects of the internet on any device you're using, every possible conceivable thing. Most people don't see the implications, but they are beautiful.
oh yeah. Well, and it came along at just the right time too. That's the thing, and the pieces are just being set up right now. The last thing I'm going to mention tonight before I turn it over to Rearson here, though, is that I'm going to mention my old time. Well, I will say it was my favorite story this year, but the way the Just Stop Oil protesters at Burning Man got owned by those park rangers. That was just epic. We should have law enforcement doing that more often. Perhaps you wouldn't have these Hamas protesters doing some of the shit that they're doing right now if they knew law enforcement was going to come down on them like that. But that was just epic. Those Just Stop Oil. Here's the ironic part. The people that they were blocking from getting to Burning Man were effectively on the same side as them politically. So, and just the smug self, especially that one French guy. I don't know if he was French or French Canadian, right? But when that one guy in that one truck just basically took his vehicle and just drove through the parkade, pulled out his gun, and told all of those people to just sit the fuck down. That was an epic owning moment. I love it. And that's where I'm gonna finish up tonight until after the closing comments. Berierson, let's take this baby out because it's 20-1 here, and I gotta be up at 8. So let's close this out.
I think Rearson is busy with his Orange Man Bad hand balm, but he's using it for non-Trump related things.
Well, you just leave me alone. Let me go back through the freaking list. Oh my God, there was so much that was on there. Hold on. Epic Games, our conference Gray J app. I don't have much to say about the Israel Hamas Gaza whatever situation. That's going to work the way it's going to work out. Don't really care. Native protesters own Native Rangers and climate protesters. I would love to see them be more forceful with them, not just there but everywhere. Europe. God, Europe's a mess, but that was all planned and social engineered from the beginning. 40, 50, 60 years ago, if not like 100 years ago. No, it just... my gas tank is almost empty on the topics at this point, so I don't really have anything to say on those, my friend, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so that concludes 2023 in a nutshell. I kind of had a feeling we were going to go over 3 hours, and we did. I will say rest in peace, Adam Johnson. The way you died was kind of tragic. The aftermath was even more tragic. Josh Kruger and Pavel Lepere got exactly what they deserved. But if I can find it, the Native Rangers, I think the best thing I saw this year was when the Native Rangers owned those climate protesters at Burning Man. 2023 was a really fast year from what I've been seeing so far. Apparently 2024 is going to be work hard, play hard. That appears to be the tone for next year. There's a lot, like Gray J, for instance. He is definitely going to be on the list for Sunday as a discussion topic, as is the YouTube's activities, which it's acting like a company that's running out of money.
Hey Naroki, before I forget, we can't forget about our other sponsor.
If you're a thought criminal, then 10 foil hats are us, as you covered. With one of their stylish hats, you can be protected from all of the things that people like me will insist that government isn't doing to you. If you suffer from the mental illness called thinking, then order yours today.
So I just needed to make sure we got that in there.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, so that concludes this episode. We will be going Sunday, and it will be a projection ahead to 2024. It is 12:46 at night. I'm potentially keeping people awake here, so I'm going to end this show. See you all. Hopefully Dave